All right, I believe we can start our meeting. Evelyn, will you start with roll call? All right, we're gonna go ahead and start our meeting. And we'll start with our roll call. Thanks, Evelyn.
Trustee Lee. Trustee King is absent. Trustee Marquez.
Here.
Vice President Weekly.
Present.
President Well.
Here. All right, good evening and welcome to the January 8th, January 8th, 2025 meeting of the Redwood City School District Governing Board. It's our first meeting of the calendar year, so Happy New Year. Buenas noches y feliz año nuevo. Si requiere interpretación al español, por favor llama al 978-990-5137 y presiona 837-7041 y el signo de número. Si asiste a la reunión en persona, solicita un transmisor situado a la fonda de la sala. So that's in the back there. So again, welcome. All members of the public are partners in education, and so the board encourages you to participate and provide comments on issues of concern, regardless of whether they're on the agenda. So to speak, and many of you already know this because I have speakers cards and the sheets filled in, but please complete a speakers card if you haven't already. Either online or if you're here in person, you can find them also available at the entrance. And then if you're here and you fill one out, please hand it to Evelyn so that we can include you in the meeting. If you're addressing a subject that's listed on the agenda, we'll call you at the time that item is being considered. If the issue is not on the agenda, you'll be called shortly during the oral communication agenda item. And then to be fair to all speakers, we limit public comments to 3 minutes or per topic or unless otherwise noted, depending upon the number of speakers. And that is, I think, the preamble. Okay, so let's move on to looking at the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
We do have one.
Okay.
And that is action item, I believe, 9.1.
9.1, the discussion item.
Yes.
Okay,
The discussion, not action, I'm sorry.
great. And we're pulling it.
We're pulling it and it'll be brought back at a future board meeting.
Okay. So pulling discussion item 9.1, any other changes? All right, I need a motion and a second to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Moving on to oral communication. We have about 10. So in our policy, 1 to 10 people is we allocate 3 minutes. Everyone okay with 3 minutes per speaker? Okay. Then let's move on. And I'll find the speakers. I'm going to start with the ones because I believe a lot of people that are here in person also submitted online. I'm going to start with our online sheet and then I'll move to the speaker cards. So our first speaker tonight is Meng Zhao. And then when you get to there to turn the microphone on, it is the person button on the right. And I'll run the timer here for 3 minutes. We will have to stop you at 3 minutes. I will do my best to raise my hand about 2:45, just to let you know that if you're coming up to the end before we stop you.
Your mic will turn red when it's on.
Yeah, it didn't turn on actually.
And that way I would have 6 minutes.
That good?
And is he Max?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Although I do think that because we have done that in the past, so I'm okay with doing it tonight. Although I love more diversity of speakers, so I don't know if that's something that we can talk about in the future. But since we've done it in the past, I think it's totally. We'll continue to do that tonight.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
And yes, we can certainly have him say a word or two. But in any case, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here and share some public feedback and commentary. My name is Meng Zhou. I am a parent of a prospective kindergarten student at Orion Mandarin Immersion. And really the goal here tonight is that we have myself, Michelle, a couple of other prospective Orion Mandarin Immersion families, as well as current families, even current students. And we really wanted to show up to share with you our longstanding interest in this program, as well as propose to you the possibility of accommodating all interested families who have applied for the upcoming school year and ultimately supporting the long-term growth of Orion Mandarin Immersion, which tonight I'll just refer to as MI for brevity. So I think we've had Michelle share with you some of these slides in advance. You have those printed out as well. And then we've also shared with you personal letters from 21 families who are really just interested and invested in the program. So throughout the slides that you'll see, we hope to prove our advocacy by illustrating the growing demand, the perpetual wait lists, and then highlighting some data that you might not have seen around the explosive growth of Asian families, which is actually 127% in the last 13 years. We'll also illustrate to you how Mandarin immersion is a successful educational model that has demonstrated tangible benefits. This is via the testing data that we'll show and lifting up all students, especially those of socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds. And it's really interesting to see that they actually perform better in MI programs as compared to sort of non-MI education. So I think one of the greatest things about the MI program is that it welcomes the admissions of students from all backgrounds without testing abilities. And then the families that do get in, we've seen that they contribute significantly to the Redwood City community via civic engagement. They drive economic growth. So I think ultimately our plea to you is that this is a program we hope you'll support in bolstering rather than constraining. And so if you go to slide 3, again, through the presentation, through the 21 letters, our ask to you is that we hope you'll consider issuing a formal recommendation for the next January 15 meeting, next week, right around the corner, just to find a way to accommodate all the interested families who have applied in the first round. And those applications are due January 17th. And we believe that these are the families who've shown the most interest, the most eagerness to be part of MI. They've applied early, they've been eagerly waiting. We understand that the district is faced with declining enrollment. This may be due to a number of factors, maybe underutilized school facilities, maybe oversized overhead. So we urge for you to consider accommodating the demand. And a lot of this is coming from families who, as you'll read, have specifically moved to our amazing Redwood City. They've made life-changing decisions. Like myself, I moved here when I was pregnant with my daughter before she was born for this program. So we hope that you'll take some of those family stories in mind. If you move on to slide 4, this is kind of where we get to the bulk of the data. So it's been really interesting to see that due to the growing demand of and popularity of this program, the applications each year continue to exceed the available seats. So there's this issue of this growing wait list. And for the 25 to 26 school year, there's only 12 available seats for the incoming K students. A couple of the folks behind me are parents whose children are in this boat in terms of having summer birthdays. And so if the class sizes are to remain at 24, there's only those 12 spots. And we believe that this is going to be even more exacerbated by TK next year when it's fully expanded. Right now, there's only 9 months of eligibility. Next year, it's going to be the full calendar year. So this is just going to be a growing problem. We also feel like these waitlist numbers that are reported by the Growth Plan Committee might not fully reflect the big picture. So one of the things we're learning is there's a delay in data in terms of when it's reported in September, start of the school year, and when families might need to accept their spots. As you might be aware, some families are also considering private MI. Again, those are highly competitive programs where they have to accept around January and February. And so some of these families, aren't able to take the risk of sticking around and seeing if they can get off the wait list. You'll also hear from Christina, a parent that we've gotten connected to who has a first grader. She's been on the wait list or waiting for over 2 years. And so she's, really eager to get into the program and has not yet gotten off the wait list. We also feel like there could be a cascading effect of new families due to sibling priority. So that way, if the older sibling doesn't get in, the younger sibling may not be able to get in, locking out some of those really interested families. And then finally, we do want to recognize and appreciate all the work the board has done in supporting the program in the past, allowing us to grow to add an additional TK class, supporting some of these creative ideas. And so we just feel like this is a conversation that does need to be continually revisited as demand will always outpace the current capacity. Slide 5, we just wanted to show some data backing up slide 4. So this is pulled from the growth plan data. And then on slide 6, this is some really interesting data that we've able to stumble across. Basically, we recognize that Hispanic and white families and populations have been declining in Redwood City. But I think to counteract that, we've seen just this really interesting growth, 127% for Asian families since 2010. And so if you actually isolate that for mixed race Asian families like myself, Michelle, other families here tonight, that growth rate is actually 333%. And we believe that it's so critical for these families where, the formal education might be the only means they have for their children to learn this language due to one parent not speaking the language.
Thank you, Meng. Your time's up, but I appreciate you coming and making comments about your interest in the MI program and providing all this data. We're gonna have to move on to your
Great.
next speaker.
Okay, thank you so much for the time.
So Max conceded the time, so we move on to Christine Liu. Let's see. There is a hand up on Zoom, so this may be, I'm not sure if that's, is
Okay.
that- is Christine Liu here?
Christine?
Okay, maybe we'll come back to this. There's the hand up and there's two hands up on Zoom, but okay, I'm gonna move on.
Does she have a card? Does she have a card up there?
She's on, there's Christine on the,
She's on the, have a virtual card. Right. And then.
let me come back to Christine if she's dialing in and we can do the people that are here first. So I'll mark that down. The next, I believe in person is Michelle Strobe. And again, a reminder, 3 minutes. I'll try and give you a little wave when you have about 15 seconds left.
Thank you so much. My name is Michelle Strobe. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Like Ming, I'm a prospective kindergarten parent, new to Redwood City, moved here with my family for this program. Actually, I am actually a Sequoia Union District graduate myself. I believe in public education staunchly. So thank you for your time. For brevity's sake, I am going to skip to slide 9. In terms of MI programs, RCMI is providing high quality public Mandarin immersion education to all students, regardless of background and socioeconomic status. This prepares our MI students for success both now and in the future. And skipping to slide 10, this bar graph here on slide 10 shows 23 and 24 CASIP scores for several California MI schools. And these are isolated for socioeconomically disadvantaged students. Please note that Orion is not included in here because we don't have current academic data for the MI program as an individual. The data here clearly shows that socioeconomically disadvantaged students in MI schools, represented by the red bar, consistently outperform their peers in district schools, the blue bar, even when those district students come from the same socioeconomic backgrounds. This is a striking trend that highlights the effectiveness of the educational environments in MI schools. Orion, slide 11, individually as the MI program and as a whole has been improving year after year. And individual test scores from Orion and Co-op RCMI have not been published since 22. However, winter 22 data shown on the graph on the right indicates that Orion MI program is performing exceptionally well on standardized tests. In fact, based on last year's testing scores, Orion is now ranked number 3 within the district. Importantly, Orion and MI are able to serve a wider socioeconomic group compared to other top performing schools within the district, as students are not required to have an entrance exam or live in affluent zip codes to enter the program. This allows the Mandarin Immersion Program to provide high-quality education to all students who are eager to learn regardless of their background. So skipping to our last slide, in closing, we respectfully ask the board to consider issuing a formal recommendation to find a way to accommodate all interested MI applicants in the first round of the lottery by adding an additional TK and K classroom to meet growing demand. We also ask the board consider adding a supplemental application prior to the lottery for school year 25-26, allowing families to demonstrate support for the district's bilingual investment and long-term growth of Orion MI. Thank you for your support and your consideration. We truly appreciate all that you do for our school district and building the future of our children's. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for also for your comments on the Mandarin Immersion Program. Let's move to our next speaker. If they're in person, Kimberly Abbey here dialing in. Okay, great.
Hello, good evening. My name is Kimberly. I'm a proud parent of a TK student at the MI program. I'm also on the fundraising committee and highly involved in all the student school activities. I cannot say enough wonderful things about the program and the experience it's meant to us. I truly enjoy the tight-knit community that we have and all the like-minded families. I really wish that more families could join the program and expand it further. It is really a hidden gem. I've spoken to several families, and I know that it's actually lured them into Redwood City. I personally come from a diverse background as well. I'm Chinese, Vietnamese, and Italian, and my husband is Indian. So, in terms of that other demographic, I think we definitely check that box, and there's a lot of growth there. My nickname in college was Wonton Parmesan. So yeah, I think it's a great blend of different cultures and having people come in that may not necessarily know the Mandarin language and being able to learn it is a great asset. I know people look at my son and they wouldn't really guess that he's Asian, but he speaks Mandarin fluently and it's a gift. And being able to conversate with some of my family in Asia has been a beautiful gift that we would not be able to get if we weren't in the MI program. So really love it and hope that everyone can read all the comments and continue to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly, for sharing your experience and some of your personal stories. Appreciate that. We'll move on to our next speaker is Wei Ji.
Good evening. So I'm a parent of the prospective student who wants to enroll into the kindergarten program at the Chinese immersion program at Redwood City. And we are also proud homeowners of the Redwood City. So one of the reasons that we moved to Redwood City is actually because of this program. And as an immigrant Chinese family to the United States, from our perspective, we really want our kid to be able to communicate, speak the same language as our ancestors, and communicate really well with us and with her grandparents. So this program has been after touring the school in December last year. We believe that this is really the program that we wanted to target for our kid. And we are actually putting the Chinese language education as one of the top priorities in our education goal for our kid. We're actually pretty concerned about the limited spot on the of the program that is open for the kindergarten level for the coming year. And if we're unfortunate to, if are not fortunate to get the chance of enrolling into this program, we may have to consider the private schools like the Silicon Valley International School, which also provides the Chinese language program. But that would be much less convenient for us. For example, we need to commute like 30 plus minutes from our home to that school, and it's a private school. It's going to be much more expensive for families like ours. So we are standing here just trying to express our desire to expand the program to have more classes so the families like ours can enroll into the program, have our kid still speak the same language that we could, and we would also like to emphasize that we understand that learning the language, especially the Mandarin language, is going to be a long-term commitment. And if we're fortunate to be enrolled in the program, we actually plan to remain in the Redwood City for K up to 12 years for our kid to remain in the program, and especially when she levels up to the middle school and high school. We still want to have the Mandarin immersion program for her in this school district. So that's pretty much I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wei Ji, for expressing your interest in the program. Our next speaker is Christina Lee.
Good evening to the school board and
My name is Christina Lee, and I'm the parent of a kindergartner currently waitlisted for the Orion Mandarin Immersion Program, and I would like to advocate for its growth. My child started kindergarten in the 2024-25 school year and is currently attending Roosevelt Elementary. Our school of choice application for Orion MI initially yielded a number 8 waitlist spot in the lottery results. And just before the school year started, we moved to the number 1 spot on the waitlist, and that's where we've stayed since. In lieu of gaining a spot, my husband and I have chosen to invest in our child's Mandarin education through an after-school program so she can get exposure to the language and build foundational skills while we wait for a spot to open at Orion, which may or may not ever happen. And this uncertainty has put us in a difficult position, along with an added financial burden of paying for the Mandarin after-school program through touring Orion, attending various community events put on by the MI program, and connecting with MI families. My husband and I saw that it was and is the best fit for our child and our family's needs, which is why we've stayed on the wait list all this time. Additionally, my child has a July birthday and didn't qualify for TK, which further limited her kindergarten options, as existing TK students get priority for those kinder spots when they level up. The Redwood City School of Choice process leaves family plans around children's education to chance, and in particular, the summer birthday kids. If my kindergartner now doesn't transfer by first grade, she'll lose out on the valuable Mandarin education. And I will actually likely face this same challenge in a couple years with my younger child who also has a summer birthday. And so if my older child doesn't transfer into Orion, we would then miss out on sibling priority. I want to ensure that both my children, along with many other children in the Redwood City community, have access to the incredible Orion MI program. And I believe the way to do that is for the school board to invest in the expansion of the MI program so that all students who want this opportunity can access it. Orion MI has an excellent reputation, not just in Redwood City, but throughout the peninsula, even more so because it's a public program. Expanding the program would benefit current families and solidify Redwood City's reputation as a top destination for families. Thank you for your attention and consideration of my comments today. I appreciate the chance to share and look forward to seeing the positive changes we can make together.
Thank you, Christina, for your comments and sharing your personal experience. Our next speaker is Saoirse Rafferty.
Hi, my name is Saoirse. I'm a fifth grader at Redwood City Mandarin Immersion. I want to share my journey with you because it's been a roller coaster of emotions. In first grade, I nearly gave up. I struggled so much that I felt like I was drowning, failing in Mandarin, math, and English. I was convinced I would never catch up. Last year, I competed in a national math competition, and my team placed 17th out of hundreds. I went from barely passing 1 or 2 easy Mandarin levels each year to suddenly acing 3 levels in 1 trimester, landing in level M, which is technically 2 years beyond my grade. This transformation is all thanks to the rigor and demand of Mandarin education. Watching the parents advocate for their kids tonight brings me hope, but it also makes me think of one of my classmates whose parents struggle and can't help her with homework. Her dad can't read and her mom has night shifts, yet she shines academically. She competed with me in the math tournament and she did amazing. I can't help but feel that if her mom would not have signed her up for this program if it had been such a gamble as gamble back then. It pains me to see how much our program has changed. My grade started with 56 kids in kindergarten, but now we are down to 28 for my whole grade, which is in 1 class. Only 4 in my grade left for North Star, and many friends moved away or left the program, especially during the pandemic, and it's heartbreaking. I worry for my friends who have to choose different other schools because they fear there won't be enough students to create a vibrant learning experience at Kennedy. They have lost faith that the district will ever build us a path to study Mandarin in high school. For me, Mandarin is not just a subject, it's woven into my identity and culture. This program is vital to all families, not just those with Asian backgrounds. I know that decisions that impact the future are tough, but they are crucial. Parents often choose the hard path in the present, knowing that in the long run, these choices will be better for their kids. I believe this I believe the school board should act as advocates for every student, ensuring they have the best possible outcome. I hope you'll consider how to support all students, including those like one of my classmates who need this opportunity and aren't here today to advocate for themselves. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Saoirse, and thank you so much for sharing about your progress, about your personal experience at MI, and congratulations on the math team, of course. And it's always wonderful for students to come up here. It's very brave. I know for adults, it's also very brave to come up and speak, but there's something special about one of our students being here and talking to us, whether it's on Zoom or in person. So I really appreciate that. And following that, well, it's a tough stack to follow, but the next one will be Megan O'Reilly Green.
She might be for time. I'm just going to cede my time to Michelle or to Mom because she just had one moment.
All right, so for Megan.
I'll be very brief. I think just the one last thing that we wanted to highlight was just how beneficial Mandarin immersion is for families of all background, not just Chinese heritage, mixed, as well as the non-native speakers. So I think this is actually slide 7, but I think we just wanted to emphasize, just ending off on the data, that the growth of these the growth projections put together by the planning committee show a decline for Orion. So 70% capacity. And then if you look at the years moving forward, you see this declining trend line. And I think ultimately we just wanted to share that based on the families we've talked to, the data that we've looked at, we truly don't believe that this is the case. We think that, families like us, the mixed families, this is so critical to maintain those relationships with extended families. I hope that my kids can be able to converse to my entire extended family in China. You've heard from native Chinese speakers like Wei Jian family, who these students actually help boost up the fluency of other classmates. They help the teachers be able to better support students and increase the fluency levels in those classrooms. Mandarin is the hardest language to learn, I believe, but with these native speakers mingling with non-native, I think that just kind of helps everyone. And then, as Michelle has shown, just lifting up data for underserved populations who have recently moved to the U.S., but they're learning Mandarin in addition to their home language, and it's just so amazing to see the impact of this program. So I think just really appreciate the board's consideration. We hope that you will consider our request to enable all the families who've applied in the first round to attend. But another request we had was maybe even considering a supplemental application. The families who have had their heart set on this program, they've shared these letters. Could this potentially also be reflected in addition to the lottery system? Yeah, yes. So in terms of exactly, so the letters that you'll read, these are from 20 plus families, current students like Saoirse. These are folks that we've been able to collect across the community, whether it's through our current schools, online outreach, all these efforts. And it's actually only been done in the last 2 weeks. We only recently heard of this growth plan in some of these meetings, hence kind of showing up here tonight and maybe surprising you a little bit. So again, this is just a team effort and something that we've just been really grateful for the community that's shown up tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that additional information. There's 30 seconds.
I just wanted to say the presentation that she just gave you, it actually, that has been worked on, this is for 2 years by MI families in different incarnations of families that don't get in, are left on the waiting list, like Christina. And so there was, in terms of diversity of voice, that's there. There's a lot of people that kind of want to, present this, this data that we have of seeing the growth in MI. So they're new to it, but there was a lot of other people that were.
All right, thanks,
supporting.
Megan. We're gonna have to move on to our next speaker. Is James Herbold in the audience here, or is that an online one? Yeah, well, we haven't unmuted them yet. Let me just run through the couple speaker cards that we have to finish off the people that are in the room, and then we can move to the two that are online. I have Chris Lau.
Hello, I'm Chris Lau. I moved to Redwood City with my wife and my daughter in 2023. First off, I want to thank the board for all that you do for the Redwood City School District. I wanted to share a little bit about our thoughts in deciding to move to Redwood City. When we're looking at houses, we talked to a number of sellers that actually have kids at Orion, and we thought that it was really a special program, and we really were hoping that Isabel in 2 years can apply. So while I'm not in the boat of some of the other families, I don't want to be in that situation later. So I want to thank you guys for considering really expanding the program and really helping my family connect to our Asian heritage. I never knew Chinese growing up, and I never had the opportunity to, so I really hope Isabel gets that chance. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I appreciate that. Catherine Stewart.
Wasn't going to speak, but I just can't miss the chance. Yeah, so my kid went to Mandarin Immersion, and my kid now goes to North Star, and we had really wonderful teachers at Mandarin Immersion, and we have really great teachers over at North Star. And the thing that I noticed with both of the programs, they have a few things in common. One is that they both have extensive wait lists of people who are just dying to get in and just do everything they possibly can to get their kids in. And the other thing is that they both have really pretty good test scores and academic records for their kids, which we weren't expecting when we first started Mandarin Immersion. It was just sort of like we had no idea what was going to happen. But it was a really good result where we were happy academically, and we felt like the quality of the teachers and the staff were just terrific. And we're enjoying North Star as well. And so my thought is that when we looked at recently, there were some planning meetings and stuff where they had statistics about where they thought there would be declining enrollment. And I looked at it, I thought, how can there be declining enrollment when there are these wait lists that are just these crazy nutty wait lists for these poor people? And I know before we got into kindergarten, we were on a wait list, to the last minute. And so I think that maybe I can't speak to all of the schools because I haven't been to all of the schools, but maybe for North Star and maybe for Mandarin Immersion, when you see big wait lists and you see academically kids are getting good grades and are scoring well and seem to be adjusting and all that sort of thing, that might be the school, those might be the programs that would merit having more resources and having bigger classroom capacity, extra classrooms, whether you have to build a building or do some other kind of planning, and more support for the staff and administration, because they get good results and people are specifically coming to Redwood City as opposed to going anywhere else because they've heard such good things about them. And also just for a brief moment, if I could say a huge thank you to Diana Fu, Jean Watanabe, Julia Feng, Katie Goetz, and a number of other people who helped get the Mandarin Immersion program so that it was there when my kid was ready to jump in. And I have a lot of sympathy for the people who are going to be on wait lists because that's sometimes the reality of it. But hang in there if you're on one. And so that was my comment, is I think we had really good results, and those North Star and Mandarin Immersion definitely are worth investing in, continuing to invest in and expand. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Let's see if we can get Christine Liu, who we think is online.
The name is Xing Xing.
Xing Xing. Okay, great. We have a hand raised. So yeah, perfect. So Christine, you can you unmute and begin.
Okay, hi, can everyone hear me?
We can, yes.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, my name is Xing Xing, and I'm here speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Dimitri. We are both first-generation immigrants. I came over to North America when I was 7 from China, and my husband immigrated from Ukraine when he was 10. And we both grew up in the public school system, not in California and other places. And we both have a lot of faith in the public school system. We think it's really important to actually have the diversity and the exposure for our kids, and it also helps to uh, anchor families to the communities and make it stronger. Redwood City in 2019. We love it. We really hope to stay. We've had 2 kids since we moved here. Hopefully, enrolling them in the Redwood City School District in the Mandarin immersion program so they can get their heritage language that way. And that's just all we wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Xing Xing, for sharing your story. Let's see, we have one more speaker here to try and get, and that was James Herbold. Let's see if they're online. Yeah, I see Luke raising their hand. All right, James, if that's you, it's Luke. Please go ahead.
Yes, yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, I just wanted to be another voice in the crowd to kind of like advocate for the program. Oh, sorry, can you hear me right now?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes, yeah,
oh yeah,
please.
sorry. Okay. No, yeah, so I just really appreciate the opportunity that you've given everyone here to speak. I have a daughter, Chloe, who is currently applying to the Mandarin Immersion program. My wife is from China, and so she grew up, speaking Mandarin. Her family only speaks Mandarin, so we really want Chloe to be able to communicate with that side of our family. I grew up here in California, but I actually lived in Hong Kong for a while and studied Mandarin there. So I really enjoy the language and I love speaking it. And I love I'm not a great teacher. I probably speak at like a first grade level or lower. And so I think my daughter would really use some, more professional teaching. But yeah, I just think, everyone here has really done a good job kind of explaining why they really want this program. And, us being a family who's entering it in this year, we would really love the opportunity for my daughter to be able to go there. And I think given how competitive it is and the availability, it's not looking too we're not too optimistic about our chances. So anything that the school district can do to, help families like us would just be, really great. And yeah, I mean, we love Redwood City. Came here many years ago. We actually live like just a block away from the school on Jefferson. And so we pass by it every day. And just kind of, the dream is for our daughter to be able to walk there and go to school and learn the language that our family speaks. So yeah, I just want to echo everyone's sentiments. The program has been really amazing for the city. And yeah, we would love to see it expanded. Thank you.
Thanks, James, and thank you to all our speakers. I think that's everyone there. I know that we can't obviously discuss about it tonight, but I know that this is a topic that's going on with the enrollment window coming and the growth plan committee already going through. So it's definitely being looked at. With no other speakers there, I think we're going to move on to our bond program consent items. Is there a motion to approve it?
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. All.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too. Okay. And then we're going to move on to our school and community reports. We have Taft and Adelante school reports for this school year. I think I'm handing it off to Anna. Yeah.
Okay, good evening, David. We're gonna have Taft begin and then Adelante. So Taft will be presenting their board report today. Let's see, get to shore.
Are we ready?
Yeah, give me a minute. All right. And David, you have the clicker on the side there, so you can click the slides.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
Go back.
Very
Okay, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. We hope you had a great, oh, thank you. I don't know if you took some time off. I know I did. I didn't do any work. I was like disconnecting and I wanted to spend time with my family. My wife and children got to stay home with me. So my wife got 2 weeks off as well. So there we were watching movies. But anyway, they're watching online. Thank you, Ronita and my kids. I love you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all the staff members that are watching at home. I know some of my colleagues texted me today and they're like, are you on? I was like, yes, we are on. And thank you, board members, Dr. Baker and Miss Wendy Kelly, Miss Herrera, Rick, everyone for just being here with us. It's been quite a ride at Taft. I enjoy it. I commend you, Mr. Wells, for your Spanish, good job there. And I saw you walk in, Mr. Weekly, with some bonsai trees. Is that what it is? Do you have an extra one?
We'll see about
Well, thank you very much. Well, anyway, so I want to get started with my report. And first, I want to just let you know a little bit more about Taft. I know we have some data up there, and some of the data points there tell a different story, but I want to just paint the picture for you. And I know David Lee, is that correct? You're new to us. I just want to give you just a little overview of what Taft is. And I really love the school. I was chosen by Dr. Baker to go there a year ago, and it's been a great experience. I really enjoy the staff that I work with. The families there are great. We serve about 400 students or so. We have students from pre-K all the way to fifth grade. So we have a broad range of students, and we have multiple programs. We have 3 SPED programs, 4. We have a special education pre-K that serves the little ones, and that's called Inclusion, also with the CDC, with the Child Development Center. We have a K2 SLC, which is Specialized Learning Center, a 3-5 Specialized Learning Center, and a TLC, Therapeutic Learning Center for grades 1 through 4, and that serves students with emotional disturbance. And we also have a 50-50 bilingual program, which serves kindergarten through 3rd grade. And after that, they move on to the English track only. But it is quite a place. We have over 90% unduplicated students. For those who may not know what an unduplicated student is, it's a student who is either foster youth, English learner, or eligible for free and reduced lunch. So that's 90% of our population or more. So you got to take that into consideration, because we're going to look at the data, and I want to make sure that you're aware of all that. We have 224 English language learners, or 66% of our population, 25 homeless students, or 7%, socially, economically disadvantaged, that's 307, or 90%, students with disabilities at 20%, or 66 students, and our Hispanic population, their numbers at 314, or 92%. Lastly, we do have a number of newcomers from all grades, kindergarten through 12th grade, kindergarten to 5th grade, and we number at 45 or 12%. So we serve a lot of students that come from various places in the Western Hemisphere, and we do have some from. We have one student from Nepal. Okay, so but most of our students come from Latin America, and we do have some Asian of students, and also some African American students, and a couple of Caucasian American students. So it's a little bit of represents of what Redwood City is. In that part of town, we do tend to have more Hispanic folks down there, but we do have students that come with a lot of trauma, and especially for those kids who come from other countries, a lot of them haven't been schooled ever. And our mental health team is currently serving 53 of those students in various capacities. And we have something called Lunch Bunch, and teachers choose those students to come and get some type of support, whether it's friendship support or just checking in with kids. But anyway, the reason I'm telling you all this is so that you understand what Taft is about, because if I don't tell you that, then I don't think you fully understand the challenges that we go through day in and day out. Okay, so if you want to move on to the next slide. Oh, thank you, Warren. I'll remember that if it works. There we go. Oh, back to this one. So we were in ATSI, as you all know, and guess what? We exited. So thank you, Ms. Herrera, for letting us know right before Christmas. So that was a nice way to go home, the holidays. So that's a notable achievement for us. Back in 22, 23, we were in ATSI, additional targeted support and improvement under those indicators. We now exited all that because we are improving our English language arts overall under our subgroups there, and also in our math subgroup. So we're proud about that. And I let all the staff know, and they were happy. They asked what happens next. I was like, let's improve our reading and writing and math. That's what's going to happen next. So here's our LCAP goal number 1. This one talks about, as you know, reducing chronic absenteeism. I think this is one of our strengths at Taft, we have seen quite a bit of students come back to school, especially after the pandemic. When I came on board, I inherited the school from Ms. Herrera, so thank you to her. But in the last year and this year, we've hired a couple of folks who worked as our community school specialists who have just done an amazing job really connecting with families, calling, using all of our resources, such as at the time of last year, Blackboard, but this year, Power School, and really using those tools to communicate effectively with families so that they come and it also helps when I call robocall and be like, hey, it's Mr. Camarena, we noticed this and that. But we're doing that so that students come to school. As you could see, our chronic absenteeism rate has plummeted tremendously. Okay, so that speaks volumes. That also tells you that kids like our school coming there and our parents are happy. Yes, the data when it comes to our results might not show you that, but this tells you that kids enjoy coming to our school. Okay, it's fun there, and it's a tiny little school and super cute. And if you ever go, sometimes people go over there like, are there students here? Because it's so quiet and it's just, but it's real nice. Anyway, what I'm getting at is the chronic absenteeism has reduced because I believe kids enjoy coming to school. Any questions on that? Okay. Here we have our by student group, and as you can see, the numbers just continue to drop. Okay, and we're gonna keep it this way because we really push all of our kids to come to school at the end of the trimester. I run reports through Power School and School Status Attend, and I work with my attendance team, and we reach out to families. We call them. We're definitely on the phone. By this time, we know all the students, and I tend to have a connection with most families. Okay, I personally meet all the people that show up when we get new students. I meet the family and the student. That's just something that I do, and I think that's important because I want to make that connection with the families, and I think that also builds a good relationship with them and trustworthiness. No, so. Here are some of the strategies that we are using to improve our attendance. We're doing attendance rewards for every trimester. We won't be able to do trimester 3 because obviously school will be out, but we're recognizing our attendance students. Like I mentioned, I work using Power School, School Status Attend. I compare the data. I'm really happy with Power School Analytics now because that helps with a lot of the work. It eliminates a lot of the time-consuming process that we used to do. We have been using Power School Messenger effectively. We use all 3 methods of robocall, text, and email. And we also have our community specialist who works doing attendance, call when needed. We think it's important for families to receive a phone call. It's a text and an email is not very personable. So we appreciate when we ourselves, and I sometimes do the phone calls myself. I really like to talk to people, and I know a lot of this. I pretty much know. I know all the kids' first and last name, but I really like to know the parents as well, and people will tell you that. One of the good things that we've done, and thanks to Maribel Ibarra, who's our MTSS TOSA, she did some drop-in attendance meetings. So we identified our chronically absent students and those who were on the verge of being chronically absent, and we sent them a robocall and a text and an email. And we asked them to come in and we sat down with them and we conducted our student engagement support plan. So we knocked out 27 in 2 days. And that's all thanks to her. So Maribel, if you're out there, thank you. We're tracking attendance on our own way, not only through School Status Attend, but we also use our own internals just because that's how we work. And we like to make sure that we are documenting what is happening and we're making sure that we're closing our conferences and School Status Attend. So if you're aware, we have Power School Analytics and Power School, and then we have School Status Attend that sends out the notices to families. We double check both platforms to make sure that they correlate. So we're monitoring that regularly. We have done some home visits and our parent engagement has increased. We have partnered with the YMCA Cornerstone Project Cornerstone to conduct parent workshops. We're doing 4 this year. We've already done 2. The next one's coming up in February and then April. We've had plus 20 parents show up to each one of those. So it's been helpful. I attend those sometimes if I can. And the mental health support has also been a big piece there. Thank you to Lauren Abrams, who has been crucial in just getting the families connected with outside resources, and also our One Life and Star Vista counselors have also supported that. And I believe that all that helps improve attendance because we've had students who come with trauma and have school refusal, and avoidance. And we have had our mental health support liaison step in and support us. Our teachers, I have, as of December and January, I directed all classroom teachers to send out a newsletter, a one-pager, letting everybody know, the parents, and what the kids are working on in school. And they include tips on attendance, reading, anything like that. I got the idea because my son's school does that, and he's a first grader, so I really appreciate reading what's happening in the classroom. So I want to kind of mimic that. And it's also a good way for parents to hear and see what's going on in class. Because as a parent, I wouldn't want to just get the report card at the end of the trimester. I kind of want to know what's going on regularly. So all our teachers at our site are doing that. And they've given the choice to either do a weekly newsletter or a biweekly or a monthly, but that's happening regularly. And I built the template for them so that it's as easy as it can for them. We on our parent newsletter, I include tips on regular attendance, and it's there. If you read my newsletter, it's there about attendance. This recent one, I said, hey, if your kid spent a lot of time, watching TV, this is what you could do. I just give parents tips on how to improve attendance and overall, like just working at home, because they're busy and sometimes they just want to hear things like that. This is the attendance comparison from 24 December to 23. So if you look at this chart here, I'll explain it to you. But on the right-hand side, and this was one of our notable achievements that got us out of ATSI, we declined chronic absenteeism here according to the state dashboard by 4.4%. But if you look at the categories, excellent, satisfactory, manageable, chronic, and severe chronic, there's a difference. So let's look at the excellent one. A year ago in December, we had 127 students with excellent attendance. This December that just passed, we had 145. So we increased that by 18. And the rest speaks for itself, right? So if you look at the chronic ones, we reduced a lot of students coming in chronically. So we're making strides here. And again, it also stems to how well kids feel at school. And we think that it's because we are doing a good job in making kids feel safe. And we provide opportunities for them to express themselves, and they're enjoying their learning activity. And also our school climate our school climate survey that Ms. Herrera sent to us, that we had some good numbers there. We are up in the 70s and above. So we're really happy there. Our suspensions have dramatically decreased. I haven't suspended anybody in a long time. And the reason I don't like to, it's not that I don't like to suspend, I just feel that there's other ways that we could get to our students. We track behavior regularly, like every day. We have a behavior tracker, and whether it's, I give it up, I let the teachers document, and then I read it, and then we make the determination what happens next. But I also establish relationships with parents. So if I know something's happening and I notice a pattern, I'm calling home regularly. And by this time, I know all the students, and I know who and how I can talk to them. And so suspension is not happening at school, one, because the students have bought into our PBIS system, and the rewards. We do dolphin raffle every week, and kids love what we have for them. We give out books, we give little tidbits here. Some of my kids' old toys, they love it. They love it. But it's helping us. We haven't suspended someone in a long time. Yes, sometimes they come and hang out with me, or we do, but I haven't sent anybody home suspended in a long time. And again, we don't see that happening because our staff works together, and we do have a set of, in the TLC, that class can get demanding, but those students are learning how to cope with their stress and how to manage their emotion. And our therapeutic learning counselor there has helped tremendously, and we contribute all that, especially our mental health, to just lowering the anxiety on campus, and then that leads out. And also, students are actively engaged in class. There's really not that much opportunity in class for them to act out, and then gets into the office. So, and again, here is just the numbers of suspensions, and as you could see over the course of the last few years, it just continues to decrease, and it's going to continue to decrease. We want to keep it there where it's at 0. Here, it's just like some things that I've already mentioned. We are doing our dolphin trades, which happen weekly. We give out dolphin tickets. Actually, this past Tuesday, I had my assembly where we discussed our trait of perseverance for Student of the Month, having a video, and there's a video that kids made from last year that I showed. Anyway, the reason I did that is because after 2 weeks, obviously students are going to be, so that helps. And it's been a quiet week so far. But we are definitely implementing our PBIS system. That has been happening for a while now. When I took over the school, they were in year 2 of the PBIS initiative with the Santa Clara County Office of Education. We finished that, and we're definitely moving forward with PBIS at school. We have our own PBIS committee that meets monthly to discuss behavior data, and we analyze different things that are occurring, and our behavior tracker has been really, really useful in, just picking up patterns of things that we want to, keep tabs on, because sometimes we have to have something happen regularly so that we get to the root of the problem, or at least start, figuring out what's going on. And again, that's another one of our notable achievements. One of the things that I attribute to having just another strong, a good, strong school climate and culture is we do have a very competent veteran staff. Over 80% of the staff at school is bilingual, myself included. So we do have a lot of Spanish going on out there. All of our teachers, most of them anyway, speak Spanish. And as you can see here, a lot of us are first generation, born in the US. So that allows us to connect with families a lot easier. We haven't had much turnover in terms of staff from classified to teaching, right, Mrs. Kelly? Yes. So that says something about what's happening at Taft, at least with teachers. And we also have used our partners. Our therapeutic learning counselor is provided through Effective School Solutions, and they provided 4 professional development workshops on mental health. So I brought them in, and they've done some training for us. And as I mentioned earlier, we have multiple programs in SPED, and all those students are included in our program. So all those SPED students participate in their specials. So art, music, PE, they're all doing it together. And they're also recognized through attendance or their student of the month. Everybody is included in our school climate and culture, in our PBIS. We have our student council who manages and does some of our events. For example, we're going to have a hot chocolate sale sometime in February, so folks, you're invited. We're also going to have our annual pancake breakfast coming up February 7th. So Mr. Weekly, I expect to see you there. Okay, so, and then we also have things like school spirit, and we let the students decide. This past school year, because it was an election year, we had student council run a mock election, and the kids came, and Miss Jocelyn Arraga, the coordinator, the community school coordinator, they built these ballots. The kids lined up. It was super cute. If you saw my one of my newsletters, had pictures on there. But anyway, those are things that we're doing as a school to keep the momentum going in terms of keep being positive. Any questions on LCAP goal 1? Keep going. All right. Now, let me have some water. LCAP goal 2, and this is increasing our English language learner and LPAC scores. So as you could see here, and I think I have some slides for just some. So when you look at this percentage of increasing LPAC levels, we do see some differences there. But when you look at it by cohort, that's one of the things that this doesn't really explain. So if you look at, for example, grade number 2 there, when it says 29.2, that's 22, 23. They actually went up in 23, 24 to 39.3. So when you look at it by cohorts, the numbers look a little bit better. For example, 4th grade looks like there was a major dip, but no, actually it doesn't, because if you look at 03, 39.5, that group is actually 45.5 now. And also that dip that you see from 81.3 to 45 is because in that particular grade level now, which is the 5th grade, 1/3 of them reclassified, 1/3 of them are doing LPAC level 3, and then the other 1/3 is novice, and that includes a lot of our newcomers. So that's where you see that dip, but it's not because we're just having more kids reclassify, so those numbers are shrinking when it comes to seeing those LPAC levels change. So that's what I wanted to make note of about that there. We're doing everything the district has mandated us to do to improve English language learner progress. Obviously, we're using the language part curriculum. We're using our guest teacher to provide release time. So our guest teacher, we created, again, this is something Ms. Maribel did. She created a form. We have our teachers fill it out. They ask for release time and we figure it all out. And then we send the guest teacher in there to support or sub while they do, whatever is small group instruction or they're planning. And that way it helps us with this. We also partnered with Healthy Cities Tutoring because towards the end of last school year, well, I want to say maybe the spring, they came to me and with the ELD tutoring curriculum that I thought was very effective. We piloted that. Out of those 12 students that participated, then one reclassified and 2 or 3 were on the brink of reclassification. So we decided to do that again this year. They meet every Monday, and we have 12 kids who are working there who are level 3, and the goal is to hopefully get them to reclassify this school year. Everything that we're doing in terms of after school tutoring, we're using LPAC data taken from Elevation. So we definitely made a focus to work with 3, 4, and 5 grades, especially those students who have LPAC levels 3, because we feel that if we're able to help them move, we will get them reclassified, and then therefore that will help us in the long term with CAF scores. Okay, we are going to start our site-funded teacher tutoring program. So we have 8 teachers that are participating, and they're going to be tutoring 3 kids weekly. So that's happening now, and the focus is ELA, math, LPAC, and CASP preparation. So we're definitely focused. We see the data. We know that that our ELA and math scores could improve. So we're definitely doing what we can to move the needle in that direction. And again, this is another notable achievement. So our English language learners are moving in the right direction. We're now at green. So yay to us. Here's just some more strategies that we're doing. We're collecting data all the time. And the way we track data is on spreadsheets, but I also put notification rules. Every time somebody's putting something in there, it alerts me and I go back and check. And it also allows me to see who needs to catch up on their data entry. And everything you see here, which, a lot of the things that are happening across the sites, we have newcomer assistant, instructional assistants. We're doing the TCM coaching. Ms. Chavez leads the ELAC meetings with the community school leader, Ms. Jocelyn Arriaga. And then we're going to start having the library available for parents to come in and check books out on this school, starting in January. And the feedback from the cabinet members from our educational rounds have also been important in how we move forward with just the ELD and ELL progress. Here we have a progression of English language acquisition, and I thank you to Ms. Chavez for putting this together. She noticed that as students progress through the years, the red decreases and more students grow in LPAC levels. However, that tends to kind of get when we have newcomers and they come into grades 3, 4, and 5, those numbers kind of like throw us off because some of those kids are all novices and we have to test them and they have to take CASP. So that's what you'll see there. But the data that we showed here is as students move through Taft, we start seeing them learn English more and more and more, and then those LPAC numbers improve over time. Here you could see the summative LPAC and over year, how more and more students are becoming proficient in English, and that means that they're gaining a level. We're hoping that this data, and incrementally, we've been increasing reclassification rates. I believe we've done 5%, and then we're going up to 7 and 10. And so we're looking at having more and more students reclassify each year, especially if this trend continues. Okay, LCAP goal 3, this is dealing with our ELA and math and iReady and our CAS scores. So this is where I know this is an area that we need to work on, and there's a lot of work to be done. We see that from 23 to 24, we dropped about 4 or 5 points in ELA, okay? And this is the SBAC. What we see here is just a comparison with the different groups. And then here we also see the cohort comparison from 23 to 24. And I had something to say about this one here. When we look at it in cohorts, we do see that they're actually increasing. Okay, so when you look at this slide here, we have, for example, it says current 5th grade. So the gray is 4, and then the and then that's grade 4, and then 10.5 would be grade 3. And then so the current 6th grade, the 33 is 5th grade, and then the 4th grade is 27. So and so on and so on. So as you could see, every year the students are making some type of growth. It may not be showing up as we would like on the CAS or SBAC, but we are making growth incrementally. It doesn't show as much as we would like, but a lot of our students come and they're already 3, 4 grade levels behind. So we're doing a lot of catch up. And that's what we're showing here. So we're going to continue to work. We know there's a lot to do. There's no excuses there, but we do see that there is a trend slowly moving in the right direction. We would like for it to go up, faster, but it's just going to take time, especially with the new curriculum that we've been using. And we just got to make sure that we continue pushing our teachers and believing in our students, and setting the bar high enough for them to also believe in themselves. This is our iReady reading fall diagnostic performance through the years. And I know it looks a little dismal there, but one of the things that I would like to say is I want to focus on 23, 24, the middle graph, because, if we look at it from year to year, you also have to consider your testing students after the summer. And we have the summer slide, and a lot of kids, we already know it. My son, who is, reading, he's in 1st grade and he's reading at almost a 2nd grade level. He struggles when he gets back in school after the summer. So it's going to be the same for other students as well. So I just feel that here it does look like we're not growing, but I'll give you an example. If we were to look at year 23, 24, and it's not up here, but I'll just tell you, if we were to consider looking at the growth between fall and spring. So for reading, yes, it says that we have 8% here, but what that doesn't tell you is in the spring, we were up to 20%. So that's an increase of 12 percentage points. And then the summer happens and then we're back to square one. So that's what I would like for you to think about, because we do see growth in the year. Here, we are taking iReady 2 times this year versus 3. Last year, at this time, I would have been able to show you the growth between, fall and winter. We're not gonna be able to do that because we're gonna take iReady in March. So I think that we are moving in the right direction. What it doesn't show it like here, but I believe that there is a lot of work to do and there's no excuses for that, but we are moving in the right direction. Math is also one of those areas that we need to work on. And I think that it's also, if we're not preparing our students to read and write well, then math's going to be that much harder. We have word problems to work with. And when students can't access the curriculum or don't comprehend what they're being told to do in terms of written instruction or written directions, it's going to make it that much harder for them to really do much better in any of these exams, whether it's iReady or SBAC. Here you could see this is an area that we need to definitely work on. And I understand that this is where, things people will ask, well, what's going on here? Well, it's, we got to give it time. We got to see how our students, react to this, and our staff as well. And everybody was well aware of these. I gave our teachers all of our CAS results as soon as they came out. It wasn't what we expected. And one of the things that we noticed with iReady is we were really optimistic when it came to comparing the projections, but at the end of the year, it just didn't pan out that way. And what iReady projected to us just didn't correlate with this. So we just know that we have to work on that. But when we look at iReady, the same thing I'd like to say is if we were to look at 23, 24 here for iReady, if we were to compare it within the year, here it says 4%, but at the end of the school year, we're at 20. So we went up 16 percentage points. So that doesn't dictate that here. But again, I would like for you to think about that, because during the span of a school year, we are making growth. And even though here again, the summer slide happens and some kids go to summer school, some don't, some have academic, some type of academic intervention during the summer and others don't. So you're going to get a mixed bag there. And these are our strategies that we're using to implement our ELA and math progress. We're using all the curriculum that's been adopted. We use our guest teacher to provide support in terms of subbing or provide release time to plan lessons, record data, collaborate with colleagues. We're using Healthy Cities. a lot of the things that we did for ELA, ELD, and math have all been kind of in conjunction because we have been looking at all those LPAC scores. We think that if we really narrow down those kids who are like a yellow or a 3, that's going to help us move the needle, and also it's going to improve results in the long term. It tells you there that's what we're doing. College advising prep starts next week. And so we've also been very intentional with the students that we're picking to put in there. We know we just had air reading for the past in the spring, in the fall. We're going to start that again, being intentional with the students that we pick. We're not just picking random students. We really want to look at what's been going on, and we're definitely looking at all different areas of growth and really what needs to happen. Because if we're just putting kids in just to do it, then what's the point? We have all this data, and we're really being intentional with how we manage that and look at it so that, we're more, it's more instrumental as we move forward. We also have our staff development coach that's been working with our 3rd grade regularly, because that was one area that we noticed needed some help. We're enhancing our tier 1 instruction across all classrooms. I created a walkthrough form that was, shared with teachers at the beginning of the school year. They gave me some feedback on that. That's what I use when I walk in, give teachers instant feedback. We're doing benchmark ELA assessments. So benchmark, which is our English language arts curriculum, has interim assessments built into it. We're promoting the use of that in grades 3, 4, and 5, because those mimic a lot of the questions that will come up on the SBAC. So not only did we just do the FIABs, we're going to continue doing this so that we just get our kids more and more prepared for the SBAC when it comes in May. And we have our MTSS committee that views all this data regularly, and they help me, design the agenda for our staff meeting. So they guide me on kind of like my leadership team when they help me with and give me comments and feedback on that. And we're directing teachers to use their prep time accordingly. So every trimester, certain teachers have a certain number of prep time minutes. So we remind them to use that time to make sure they get their stuff done. And, all this, we're also offering all teachers who are being evaluated workshop PDs. So it's part of something that I've done for a number of years now. So I offer PD workshops for teachers who are being evaluated, probationary or veteran, because I think it's a good idea that they continue their growth that way, and we, the school, will cover the cost for that. That's it in a nutshell, I guess. Any questions, folks?
All right. Thank you, David, for walking us through your presentation on Taft. I'll jump into the other board members to see if anybody wants to start with questions or comments. I'm looking down at David Lee if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dave. A lot of things to be thankful for here. One is first just providing that context up front. I think it's been a recurring theme among this board and I think in the community that we are focused, of course, on absolute results, but also meeting people where they are. So getting a sense of what the starting point is and what those unique challenges are is obviously something that should color our view. So thank you for starting with that. I have maybe 2 questions. One, I think for you, and maybe one for the district, but big picture, super helpful to get this information. I think particularly as you've noted, all the work and the progress on the attendance, chronic absenteeism, suspension, expulsion, and the English learner progress, great. Great to see all this growth. It seems like you're doing quite a bit to raise those things. So as long as it's sustainable, I take the view of if it ain't broke. So thank you for doing all that.
Thank you.
I think the one question is a little bit more on the end, which I think you've already acknowledged on the math and ELA, just some of the results that we're seeing. I fear maybe you're selling yourself short on some fronts, because I think the big thing that I looked at was that there is growth in the core data on some ends, right? And then others a little bit more mixed. So I think what I would find really helpful would be getting a sense from you, because again, it seems like there's a bunch of different strategies being implemented to improve. Is there anything that you would highlight on the math and ELA as a strategy or support that has been particularly helpful, or you think that is crucial in kind of growing that going forward? Basically, if non-negotiable, we need to make sure that we keep on doing this. And then on the other side, are there any particular challenges that you would flag where the board, the district can help support?
Well, we have to use the district curriculum with fidelity. I believe that, one of the major things that teachers really like for in illustrative math is the usage of centers, and that's been something that's been used across the board at school. So that's something that's a highlight for us. We see growth there, and we think that the teachers are bought into what we're doing. It's also very, very beneficial that we constantly look at our data and we're constantly recording it and looking at it back in. We're also using all that in our PLC. So that's a highlight for us. We have been a very collaborative team in terms of, and the staff there have to acknowledge that they've been very forthcoming and they've also been very accepting with the trajectory that we're taking. The challenge is how do we make ourselves better? Like, what can we do to improve? I'm always asking Wendy Herrera and Dr. Baker advice because I think the more feedback that I could get from multiple viewpoints is important. And I believe in my staff. I think that we do have a challenge with some of our students. It's, they come to us, especially when they sign up. We just got a couple of students from other schools that are reading at kindergarten level, and they've been in the United States their entire time. So what can we do to improve that? And those are the challenges that we see a lot. We get students who sign in or sign up at the middle of the school year and they're already 2, 3 grade levels below, and that's a challenge because we have to really scaffold our lessons to meet them where they're at, and then we start seeing growth, but it's just playing catch up for us and for them. But we continue to come to work every day, and we like what we do, and it's a happy place, and I think students enjoy being there. And I think one of the things that we want to start doing is letting students know of their capacity and believing in them and having them believe in themselves. That's something that I would like to continue working on.
Okay, so maybe just to recap, it sounds like not a specific strategy support, but a lot of the cultural building that is going on.
Well, that's happening day in and day out, but we definitely have to follow the district lead in terms of making sure that we're following, and adhering to the curriculum and doing that regularly, because if, we don't want to stray from the path there. And, again, I think the usage of, small group instruction is something that's happening regularly, and that's a non-negotiable. We are using our curriculum day in and day out, and that's a non-negotiable. So those are strategies that we're doing, every day to continue working with our families and students.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question, I think, for me, for the district side, for Dr. Baker, is I know that the LCAPs are super important. Obviously, they should guide everything we do. We also do it kind of on a district basis. And as we mentioned, people are starting for different points. So just like stoplights, red, green, yellow, do we have a sense on, and I know that the data is, a lot of data we looked at is a year old, but there's been a lot of work already been going on this year. So curious if, given what you guys have seen this year so far, are there any things that you would flag in terms of where we are on tracking toward our LCAP goals, basically?
So we'll know more, especially in the month of March when we do the iReady test. That's going to give us a dipstick to see where we are. One thing that I appreciate about David and his team is that they look at data. They look at that data to see if there is progress. If there's not progress, what else can we do differently? As we have the rounds with those of us from the district office that come to the school sites, and we look at the data with them and come up with, okay, have you tried this? Would this work? And really involve his teachers in that process. He has a good relationship not only with ourselves and also with his staff, but one thing that's coming along with him also is his parents. The piece about the is it Georgine or Georgette? I always forget her name with health tutors.
Georgianne from Healthy Cities.
Georgianne. It's what it. Yeah, she has been one who's kind of. She not only sits with myself on Redwood City Together, and of course with Cecilia, but she has met with myself several times, and the last time we met was right before winter break, and how much she admired David for saying, I really need some support in the EL area.
Yeah.
And this is something that they have not been accustomed to doing in the past. And so she met with Catherine Rivera, who, handles English language development and so forth. And she is mimicking what teachers are doing in the classroom, although she is not a certificated teacher, nor are her tutors, but you'll see by going in this direction, she is making progress.
Yeah.
So it's really good to hear this because I met with her about 4 weeks ago and I said, what does the data look like? And she goes, I think David can give you that information, but we're going to talk again to see if we continue. And so it was pleasant to hear that you're moving forward and what she and her group, what they're doing, it's working. So in answer to your question, we will be looking at that March data. We'll bring it back to you so you can look at it, but we'll definitely be working with the site administrators and their staff to see what can we do more, especially I hate the CASP. It's one time. It is one time. What can we do better so that we can improve in that arena? Because that's what everybody looks at. I was just looking at some of my neighbors' scores today, other districts that mirror us, and we are doing better in some areas than they are. And in one area that one of my colleagues is doing better, I want to find out what is she doing in that area, in that area that is different, because she has the same type of population in some of her schools that Taft has and that Garfield has, and also Hoover. So, but we outbeat them in two other areas. So she should come ask us about that. But I will, and that's another source that, because why reinvent the wheel if we have a neighboring district that is doing something that is showing progress, and we constantly talk to one another about it. We share our ideas and share what we're doing.
No, that's fantastic. Okay, so maybe just to recap, it sounds like we're optimistic just based on kind of a lot of the work that we're seeing happening. It would be premature at this point to really have a good sense until we get the data. So we'll revisit when we can.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you for your presentation. And I've said it before when you've presented, I love your enthusiasm and I love the way that you interact with your parents, especially when you're talking about you do other things other than just following like the attendance. You gave an example, you do something else and you actually call the parents, you get to know the families. As you mentioned, a lot of those students have a lot of trauma, and that's actually harder on your teachers and their support staff to support those kids and make them grow. And so I really don't have any questions. It's more of like comments that I just want to tell you that I appreciate you and your staff for everything that you guys are doing. Obviously, congratulations for exiting the
ATSI.
yes. And then of course, kudos to all the teachers and their support staff for, stepping up their game. I do appreciate the level of contact that you have. You also mentioned some of your staff does, I believe it was a parent liaison that helps you with making phone calls.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not just her, and you probably have other people that do that. So I do appreciate it. And like you mentioned, some of the data, it's not what we want to see, but even just you explaining to us like why certain things happen, like the summer slack or however you mentioned.
Summer slide.
It's hard and different cultures are different, right? Unfortunately, I think there's some kids that struggle so much that in the summer, who wants to read and, follow up? You also want to have some tender love and care within your family to like move up and, try to do better. So I commend you and your staff, and I appreciate you stepping in. I do know some parents that have said they do miss Herrera, but definitely they really like Mr. Camarena. So I do I appreciate that.
You want to trade spots, Mr. Herrera? No, I'm good.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to echo some of the comments, but then I also have some of my own. I love the enthusiasm, the clear passion you have for this job. You're cut out for this. I love the connection that you have with your parents, specifically around chronic absenteeism. It seems like that level of effort and intensity is clearly working. Kids are showing up. Contestant must be present to win.
Yeah.
So really appreciate that. The suspension data looks really good. Historically, when we've looked at suspensions and those have gone down, yay, we want to make sure that we're not just kicking problems back into the classroom, but the problems are actually getting resolved. How would you say that behavior referrals have been trending? Flat, down, up?
The interesting thing is we don't have behavior referrals. So the tracker system enables a teacher to input. It's a referral online, but we don't treat it as such. So the teacher will enter what happened. I get a notification, I read it. And I always talk to the student. So it's kind of nice because it happens in real time. So let's say it happened in the classroom, and then 10 minutes later they're going out to recess, and I run into the kid, right? I was like, hey, what are you doing? He doesn't even know, right? That he doesn't even know how I found out. But so I deal with it right away, and I don't necessarily like to call him to the office anymore because that freaks him out. So I just go see him or see him in the hallway but I think it's also built on the PBIS and the expectations that we've really established. We have monthly assemblies on our PBIS traits, and we encourage teachers to write, give dolphin tickets. So I think what's happening there is we're kind of being preventative in terms of we don't let things escalate, and we try to deal with it, and we counsel students, and we like to hear what they have to say. We always, have that back and forth with them, the positive one, but we really we don't see it as a behavioral referral. We see it more as like some type of intervention that needs to happen. When we look at our behavior data, we'll see. I could show you one day if you want to come over to Taft, but
yeah,
I could show you like how over the course of instances that happen. For example, at the beginning of the school year in grades, K1, you see a lot of hitting, right?
Yeah.
So we target those kids. Well, if we see a pattern of, let's say, one or two students who are repetitively doing that, then we bring in a mental health counselor. We sign them up for lunch budget. They join a group therapy session or something like that, so that we could that way we're tackling it up front, and we get the parents involved. We don't wait till act 5. We right away call them the first, especially if we start seeing a pattern. So once students realize that we're going to call home, and I encourage there's all of my staff is, especially the new ones that have came in, like Mr. Camarena, what do I do? Call home.
Yeah.
Call home. Call them. Don't send an email. Don't send a text. Pick up the phone, because that first or second phone call is going to pay dividends later. And then the kids understand. And I think also kids understand the expectation. And it's not because, hey, I'm going to come after you. It's simply because we've built a culture of where things are accepted. Students are accepted for who they are, and they have the ability to express, their problems, whatever it is that they're, but we give them that opportunity to do that. And I think that that's over the course of the last year, we've seen that. Like, some of you have gone to my campus, and some people be like, wow, it's quiet here. And you don't see, it's not an issue where, I worked at middle school and I worked in Oakland in high school, and then, it's a big difference. But, we try to just really make a connection with the students. And I know all the kids now, first and last name. So one of the things that I do is I open the gate in the morning at 8 a.m. and I let them in, and I really like to do that because I set the tone for the day. So I just think it's the personal relationships that we establish. And I really encourage our teachers to do the same thing, call home and be there for them in that aspect. So in our results that you send me, Ms. Herrera, for the climate show that, it's getting better in terms of, that type of thing.
Fantastic. I am blinking on our movement from 3 iReady measurements a year to 2. Is that because you mentioned the next data point we get is March? I'm just forgetting. Did we do that for all the schools in the district?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah. We
Okay.
went through this last spring when we were going through the
Just feeling a little bummed out to not have this conversation with the winter Delta data.
Right. There was a concern that we were testing too much. And so we had several conversations as a team, not only ourselves here in the district office, but also with the principals and also with staff members. They said, there's too much testing. Because it's a balance. It's a time suck, especially when you are an instructor in the classroom. And I'm going to take this time. I have to give this test, and it's over several days, 2 days, right? At 2 weeks, and teachers saying that's a lot of time that we're missing with the instruction.
That totally makes sense. I think just the hard part is like if we're going to be sitting here year after year, hearing presentations showing summer slump data, summer slump data, summer slump data, like how do we know how the school year is going as it's going and have a chance to make a course correction?
So I'm going to let Anna, but as soon as she starts, we are looking to see what else is out there as far as assessments. We're talking to our neighbors on both sides of us, to the north and to the south, to see what they're doing. There's something that just came up that I just got an email was last night from San Mateo Foster City, and another piece that they're looking at for math that I think I'm going to reserve spots for us to go to and see what that's like.
Yeah.
And if that's better and it's not as, or you can do it, maybe you could do it more often, but it's not a time suck like this other is.
Yeah.
And it gets the teachers kind of, you want me to do this instruction, but at the same time, you're telling me I have to do 2 weeks of assessment. What do you want? Let's talk about this.
Right.
So go ahead, Alan.
I just want to add, one of the reasons why we also moved is this year, we're also moving towards our interim assessments, where our assessments that mimic CASP, and they're actually given by the state. And so this is our first year. We did a writing one in December on our PD this last Monday. It was scoring them, and it takes a long time. For middle school, they pretty much took all day scoring. And so they're going to be looking at that data and planning. So really what we're trying to make sure because we know that was going to allow us to create a plan of instruction around
the board
writing.
see some of that data?
Huh?
Can the board see some of that data?
We just did it, so there's still not all completed scoring. And so once we have that, I'll have Jenny try to give us some of the information. I know David knows exactly how his scores, because we were looking at that today. But it's our first time doing it in many years. We did it before the pandemic. And so we're really trying to go back to that type of assessment where we could pull that data. We know that the teachers, what we heard from the teachers, it was very beneficial to spend the amount of time we spent on looking at it and really thinking about what are our students being asked of, so that we can now start requiring that. But we really focused was writing. There are multiple different assessments that we want to get to. But it does take time. So if we do that, we can't really be doing all this other 2 weeks to take a test and then do that. But that's that's some of the work that we're working towards next year, so that we're doing that more intermittently and through our professional learning cycles.
Yeah.
So it is something we wanted to make sure we embedded this year to move that forward with our PLCs. But again, it's new this year, and we know that writing is an area that we need to focus on. So that's why we chose writing. And I think the teachers all really appreciated having us a focus this time and having the time for it. So we're really trying to build more of that in for next year.
Thank you.
And just to be back off that, so we just finished the FIABs, and for example, 5th grade finished and 4th grade is almost done. So I already have that data. So today we had our MTSS, PLC here for administrators. So I was already thinking about how I was going to use that data come next week, because next week on the 16th, we're going to be looking at that. So there is that data. Like I said, you want to come over to Taft, I'll show you.
Sweet.
But yeah, it's there. It's like as soon as we get it, I'm looking at it and I'm asking her, like, this is what I like, what do you think? And so on and so on, because it's important for us to look at the data, see it right away, and try to move forward with it. It's no use if we're waiting 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, So, but yeah, that's the thing. There's various data points that we're using. So, but that's for another time.
Fair. In previous years, when we've done school site presentations, we've gotten a sense of the delta. So like what percentage of students over the last calendar year made 1 grade level of progress, made a fractional grade level of progress, made 2 grade levels of progress, right? Trying to meet the students where they are. So if they're starting off 3 grade levels behind and they end the year 1 grade level behind, it's fantastic, right? High fives all around. So I would love to see some of that data about deltas in terms of how rapidly the students are advancing. Because like ultimately that's the thing that I care about. Because if we can give, especially for the students who are way behind, if we can give the median student who's 2, 3 years behind 1.5 grade levels of instruction per calendar year, we're going to be closing the gap, right? And we know that we're on proper course. And just the presentation, thank you again for giving it. But this presentation doesn't give me that data to tell me like red light, yellow light, green light. Are we on track to be able to close that gap?
Yeah. Would love for you to come over and show you what I got.
Message received, sir. Pancakes or no?
No, I expect everybody to have the pancake breakfast. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Betty, if you're hearing me out there, I already told them, okay?
One thought just offhand is that if we do have a number of classrooms where there are students of many different levels in that classroom, exploring using peer instruction could be pretty effective. It's been something that's been a proven approach in other areas. It's hard to pull off, so it's a lot easier to say than to execute, but it's just something I'd continue to encourage us, not just at TAF, to continue to explore. You mentioned a couple times in your presentation following the district's lead, and I'm curious to kind of turn things around. Like, what can the district do to better help you make sure that these kids get a great education in English and math? Because we're not where we need to be right now.
Well, I'm always asking for feedback. I mean, when I meet with her and Dr. Bayer, I'm always asking what advice do you want, and that's really, to me, that's just support. My teachers come to me and gripe, and I gripe to them, so that's that's kind of like. But I just right, so I just feel that the district can continue supporting us by just hearing us out and providing solutions or at least comments or feedback on what, because every time I talk to these folks here, they're giving me something to work with, and I like to run things by them because it's important for me as a school leader to know what my superiors think about what we're doing, because that's the only I like thought partnership, and I'm a distributed leadership model type of guy. And so for me, it's just having that support, like pick up the phone and I have the question. That's the kind of help that I like. Yeah.
Last question for you. You mentioned a couple different times just focusing on the summer slump, and the degree to which that presents a meaningful regression for many of these students. What additional supports might the district consider for giving students over the summer to minimize the impact of a summer slump?
Well, I know Ms. Herrera's worked last year on getting some summer school going. I think that's crucial. And I know it's kind of 5-6 weeks or something like that. 4. So I think that should continue. I think, and we should definitely. I think she was very, very intentional with choosing. She made us look at the data and then choose the students who we recommended, right, or invite to come. So I think that should continue. I think that's important, especially for folks down at the Bayside, because a lot of those families are working folks and they want something on for their child during the school day. I mean, during the summer day. So that's I think that should continue.
Even if we could send them home for the summer with some books and like when you
Oh,
come back
we
in the
send them
fall.
home with books.
Oh, sorry.
And one of the things that I didn't mention in my presentation is I send home, I figure out how to, download all their data in terms of their Clever accounts, and I send it off to them. So, most folks nowadays have technology at home. So I do get phone calls from parents like, hey, I'm having trouble logging on. So I help them log on to it.
Cool. Thank you again for your presentation,
welcome.
for your passion for this job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to see the efforts like the PBIS and community engagement and sort of the all those programs being fully implemented and the impact that they're having. Also, the personal interactions that you mentioned throughout your presentation that start right when the gate opens. Those have such a profound impact on the community. So it's really nice to hear about those. I guess the other thing I wanted to mention was you had mentioned it and you just mentioned it about wanting to be able to see growth data as opposed to like, static data. I think we've talked about this before. I don't ever recall seeing it in the school reports. I know we've seen it a little bit in our iReady reports before. And I know you're given the data to present. You're given the format. So it's more, and we've talked about it before, and I know we're looking to try and get it, but really being able to see student growth as opposed to like just snapshots of where they are would be tremendously helpful. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was it sounds like the AIR program, the AIR tutoring is working well, which is very timely because we're approving their contract later.
Yes.
It is an effective program. It's good.
We think it is.
Okay.
Yes. And then the students that we're choosing are, we're very intentional about the first group versus the second.
Okay. Outstanding. That's good to hear, and timely information. I'm going to sling it to Dr. Baker so that we can get you out of here and move on to our next presentation.
David, I just want to say thank you to you and your staff.
Thank you to them.
Veronica, for everything that you're doing. David is really good with the data. He's very good with the data. Whenever he comes meet with us and it asks for anything, here comes the data before he does his ask. And so it supports what he needs, right? And so we do our best to support it if we can support it, depending if we have the budget or where can we find dollars within the budget. I go over to, can I squeeze some money out of one bucket here without, screwing things up for him? But he's very good about that. And that's something I really appreciate.
Thank you,
about
Dr.
So
Baker.
thank you so much for doing that. And just keep up the good work.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to all the staff. That's really like, I couldn't do it without them. And it's not just me, it's all them. I really appreciate everything they do for me. So thank you out there. Go Taft Dolphins.
So just to let you know, you met my attendance goal because when I took over CAF, we were at 97%. We were the highest, and now you're the highest.
Oh, really?
So you met my goal from 2019 when I took over. Just wanted to give you that. 'cause
Thank
that
you,
was
community
that
school
was one of the big
coordinators,
things of CAF was
Jocelyn and
attendance.
And Kelly. They've
Yeah, it's
been-
a lot of work.
And Yadira from last year, who's now at Garfield. But thank you.
All
Thank you very
right.
much, folks. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right. Okay, so next we have Mr. Cedar, the Adelante team, Adelante Selby team. No
break.
Oh, no break yet.
No break?
So you'll talk fast enough. Okay.
Was
here we
that
go.
20 minutes? I don't know.
There you go.
Good evening. Let's see, we get oriented here. Good evening, Board President Wells, trustees. Welcome to our new board trustee, David Lee. Invite you out to the school. Our wonderful superintendent, Dr. Baker, Wendy Kelly, Ana Herrera, audience members, custodian that just started with the vacuum cleaners back there. And if anybody is at home, welcome. Warren Cedar, the very proud principal of Adelante Selby, Director Warren, here waiting patiently to present, given the opportunity with my admin team. It's Jose Luna, our wonderful community school coordinator, and our wonderful assistant principal, Patricia Alcocer. And Maria is one of our dear loyal teachers, Orozco. You might know her mother worked in the district for a number of years, Victoria, who just got in from the East Coast. She was stuck on a flight, and then she's here tonight to support Adelante Selby because she's so dedicated. Anyway, so thank you for being here, and thank you for the opportunity to present. Try to get my energy level up because it's past my bedtime for sure. We've had a number of new initiatives I want to talk a little bit about tonight, and some ongoing programs that we've seen that are effective that we want to continue. We'll be reporting on our progress to meeting the goals on our LCAP. We've had some progress and some mixed results. We are fortunate to have a wonderful community. I think it's one of the best things that we have. I feel privileged to be part of a veteran staff that really cares and believes in the immersion model. The parents and the community are very, very strong. And we're all here, we're all at our school to promote immersion education for our students. And I think the big highlight for us, it's been my 5th year, I think, as the leader of the combined Adelante Selby, as being voted in the Parent Magazine as the top immersion program in the county of San Mateo, voted on by parents. So we were really happy about that. So we are the Alebrijes. We have a lot of school pride. I know we heard about the Dolphins, but we are the Alebrijes. And this doesn't work. Yes, it does. Okay, so I'm going to go over our progress towards meeting LCAP goal. And it's a little bit different than previous presentations. We wrote over, because we do SIPSs, right? The site plans that I know you all go through the thousands of pages that we write on our goals. But this presentation is on progress towards LCAP goals. So we have a little bit of mixed data, but we'll do our best to do it in a quick way. I'm going to go over LCAP 1 around climate, improving attendance, and social emotional learning, setting the stage that students can learn at school and feel good about themselves. Patricia will talk about progress on goal 2 around English learner progress, and then I'll continue in goal 3 around reading and math progress. So in goal 1 is an area to highlight for us because we did meet all of our goals in reducing chronic absenteeism significantly. If 2% was the LCAP goal, we did a really good job overall, reducing chronic absenteeism from 22-23 from 24.9 to last year to 15.3%, which is a significant percentage drop there. Also, in the next slide shows all the subgroups that we met as well. We were on track these first 2 months of the school year. This is only through December, but we did get a little spike in November and December. Just to be honest, there was kids that were sick. I don't think it was anything unexpected for the week that those 2 days and right before Thanksgiving. That's historically, we have I think there were 68 students that Monday and Tuesday leading into the break. People just take off. They don't send their kids to school. So that's something to think about with the calendar, but I know it's already set for next year. But this date is good overall, and I do think we are on track to meet the goal. When we come back this week, for example, January through May basically is kind of like our money time is the way I think about it. Our attendance improves. Everyone knows the routines. This is when a lot of the learning happens at the school. So I do think we'll make our goal in this area at the end of the year. This slide just shows the subgroups. All subgroups made improvement from 22-23 to 23-24, significant improvement, except for families. I think there were 23 families that we had that are housing challenged. Is that how we say that? Instead of homeless. Housing insecure. That was the only subgroup that didn't make the goal last year. But interestingly, that group, which is not the same, students come and go, has the best chronic absenteeism rate to date this year at 4.8%. So it's kind of just shows you what the data looks like. It's kind of interesting. We don't believe in suspension, as David talked about, similar mindset, I think, across the district at this point. We prefer to work with our students than send them home. I think also we have wonderful staff that are really good handling behavior at the site. I kind of put our action steps a little bit different than what David had shown in his presentation, in kind of tier 1 strategies and tier 2 and tier 3. I thought that made sense. Hopefully that's okay. You can't include everything on one slide, but this is kind of the highlights. I think the biggest thing for this goal 1 that we do as a site is emphasize relationship building right from the beginning of the year. We're all getting to know our students. There's a lot of getting to know you activities going on in the classroom. They're doing their community circles. We had really strong climate survey data. I was happy to see we have a new climate survey. I don't know if the board has a chance to look at it yet. I looked at it because it's one way to at least measure, like climate's a feeling, Is there a way to measure it? I don't know. So anyway, these are 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders took the new climate survey, and on this goal, I figured three of the indicators were teacher and staff care about me. So that was one of them. 77% of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders said yes, and the district average was 58%. So I thought we're moving good. That's pretty good there. I'm happy at school. 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. 72% said yes. 62% was the district average. And then importantly in this area too is safety. I feel safe at school. 80% of the students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade said they did. The district average was 66%. So those are kind of some highlights and a little bit of metrics. I think we do a great job of building community. As I said at the beginning, it's one of the highlights of the school. These events engage the families in fun ways at the site so they feel good about coming to school. All this contributes to attendance and to behavior. We have a great partnership with Acknowledge Alliance where they're doing social emotional learning lessons in the classroom for third, fourth, and fifth grade that supports a lot of different things so that students can learn in the classroom. Similar to what David was talking about, we have a strong implementation of the PBIS program with common expectations around being safe, respectful, responsible, friendly, and caring, and focused and ready to learn. Students immediately get the Alabrije ticket. It's kind of like a brag tag kind of thing. They immediately can take it home. They can put it on their refrigerator. I got an Alabrije ticket. And then once a week we do the all calls, and then they can come down and get their bracelet that indicates that expectation for being safe or for being responsible. So I think this is a great thing. New thing we started this year, similar to what David was talking about, we have trimester awards, Alabrije awards, and we put an attendance award in with that. A strength for, especially for an elementary school, K-5, typically see more active student council at middle or high schools, right? We have a very strong student council. Jose Luna and Claudia in the Family Center kind of have done a really good job bringing out student voice, the teachers as well in the classroom. We have them also have the opportunity to be peacekeepers or conflict mediators. So that gives them leadership experience, but also helps out with some of the smaller conflicts out on the yard. We don't have a lot of behavioral referrals, and somebody was just asking about that from our teachers, because we have such great teachers. Really, quite honestly, they're excellent with management. But what does happen with behavioral referrals usually is out at unstructured times, like at recess before school or at lunchtime. So this is an area, it's kind of twofer, right? So those students get the leadership experience, and then it helps the yard. Something that might not often be talked about, but I'm very proud of, and we should be proud of, is our extended day program. We have 4 partners. So we started out with Reach, which is our partnership with the Rec and Parks Department. They have over 200 students, and after extended day is just after school program. So they can be there until 6 o'clock. YMCA has 60 students, Siena Youth has 80 students, and a new partner that started last year and now is up to 60 students is Casa Círculo. So 4 different partners, over 400 students are in an extended day after school program, and they have improved their enrichment, the quality of their enrichment of the after school program. The leaders, they're typically younger and interact in different ways than teachers and principals with the students after school. It's safe, it's fun. They have some tutoring. It's great. And particularly in terms of attendance and where our site is located, and that we're a school of choice and we are not a neighborhood school, kids can't just at 2:30 walk home. You know, parents are working. They really are depending on their kids being in after school program, and they can pick them up and interact and see how their kid's day was going with the program leaders at our site at up to 6 o'clock. It's great. So that's available for everyone, right? So those are kind of like the tier 1 universal. There's a lot more going into climate and social emotional learning and behavior, but those are kind of the highlights. In tiers 2 and 3, we have screen teams, right? So all schools should have this, where you're looking at, you're trying to identify the students that need the most support. So we have our MTSS TOSA, our counselor, admin, community school coordinator, looking at students and then putting them in what students need counseling support, either in groups or individual therapy. Also for attendance, reach out for phone calls, check-ins. We're all kind of doing that work. I do think it's important that the board of the community is realizing as all schools are going through budget cuts. We've already experienced budget cuts in this area this year. Our MTSS TOSA is now 0.5 working this year, and our counselor is at 0.5. And next year, both of those positions are cut completely. So that'll be a big change for our school that we'll have to take a look at how we're going to work to support our students. The rest of those are pretty normal, I would say, what most schools are doing in terms of the SST 504 IEP process. But one thing I do want to highlight is our community school model. It's just gotten better and better and better every single year, stronger and stronger. So I just put hyperlinks here, and if the board, you can just like pop those open and go through them. And I really love a chance for Jose to just talk to you for about 20 minutes, but David took all of our time and the vacuum cleaners were going on back there. It has been great. And so I'm so thankful to Dr. Baker. I know there was at one point we weren't sure if we were going to get one, and then it was going to be a 0.5, and then it's a full 1.0 position, and it's just been great, the program. So I think I hit all of my, oh, we have some pictures, I think. Yeah, Anna let me have a couple of slides to have fun with. So upper left here, you can see student council. We had a new program that Jose initiated with ALAS. It's a program that worked with the migrant farm workers in Half Moon Bay. And students, you know, they're giving back, right? So they're massive collections of things came in to stuff the stocking. So the families in Half Moon Bay could get some holiday cheer. So there were over 458. There's a number. You guys like numbers. Stockings were given out to bring some holiday cheer in the upper left there. Student voice and belongingness, is that a word? Is highlighted here in the upper right. The Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, where everyone belongs. Everyone wore purple. This year was bigger and better than any year, and I love this. This is kind of like I like these traditions at the school, so I think this is like this stocking stuffer, that'll be a tradition for next. This will be this tradition has continued to improve every year, and it's meaningful. Lower left picture there is one of our first community building events is Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, because we have cultural emphasis, and so some kids dancing here. We have a wonderful partnership with the San Carlos Children's Theater. So here you can see some kids. We've already given our play. This year was Finding Nemo. As the choir is the cutest thing ever. Memorable experience getting up on the stage. And this picture, although a little bit out of focus, is our wonderful Patricia Alcocer giving out the bracelets to students lined up weekly. That's promoting the expectations, the positive behavior. So yeah, we don't do questions till the end, right? So Patty's going to talk about our progress towards meeting goal 2.
Hi there, good evening. I'm just going to shout out to my parents because they asked a lot for the login, and so they're watching. So hey, mom and dad. So I'm the proud principal, vice principal of Adelante Selby Spanish Immersion School. I feel very proud and fortunate to be part of the community, especially because this community believes in bilingualism and supports and our goal towards that for all of our students. So LCAP goal number 2 was about English learners, moving our English learners 1 level every year, increasing our reclassification, and decreasing our long-term ELs. So here, looking at the data, we can see that overall we made slight growth, but didn't make, looking at the data, like David said, if you look at the cohorts, there's growth from second to third. If you look at, or from second to third, there's a dip because the test changes, the LCAP test changes. So there is a dip there, but the other cohorts, they actually do make improvement. But just if you look at face value, it does look like second and third are the ones that made the most growth. But looking at the cohorts, except for the dip between second and third, because that's when the LPAC test changes to one-on-one testing to whole group testing on the computer. And that's their first experience in 3rd grade with standardized testing. Let's see. So if we look at this, we do have some action steps. You know, we do have challenges that, you know, to make our growth. And so we continue to take steps. And like Warren talked about in the first goal, we do have the tier 1 supports, and then we have the tier 2 supports. And we continue to have high expectations for our English learners. And moving them towards reclassification, because that is the ultimate goal for our English language learners. So some of the tier 1 supports that we have this year, we started the new curriculum of language power. The director of multilingual learners, Catherine Rivera, she did come out to one of our staff meetings and presented the strategies, the flow of the lesson, the expectations of how to use the program, how to implement it in our classrooms. And then she did share a lot of resources through staff development, the website, where they can find resources to help support language power. In addition, the district provided the professional development for the TCM presenters. I was fortunate enough to participate in those, and I got really good feedback from all of our teachers. The presenters were very interactive. They connected with the teachers and really focusing the strategies and implementing the program to meet the students where they're at, and realizing that they are English learners, but they are coming with us with strengths. It might not be at the level, but they're coming with a tool chest. They're coming with their own strategies, their own experiences, and that is a big asset to move them along in the reclassification process. We still continue to use the SEAL units, integrated thematic units for social studies and science, and the thinking maps that started with the NUA when we worked with them, the translanguaging, the cognates, things like that our teachers continue to use TK through 5th grade. In the classroom, like David was talking about, that small group instruction, differentiating lessons, making sure that we're meeting students where they're at, but then also pushing them because they can do it. And that's where the expectation needs to be, that they can do it, and continue to push them in that direction using the strengths that they have. We also have our monthly ELAC meetings that have been very well attended this year. And this, Warren and I were talking, this has been a really big place to connect with parents in terms of the beginning of the year. They were getting the reclassification letters and the LPAC scores, and they're like, what do we do? Like, what does this mean? So Catherine was gracious enough to send me, blacked out, names and things like that. So we actually got to go through the LPAC scores and how to read them, and what does this mean, and where are we trying to move to? And so it really got them talking, and they're like, okay, well, how do we help them more? So they are very invested and moving their children forward and talking. We showed them about the reclassification letters. This is what it looks like. What is reclassification? How do they get to reclassification? And because they have those questions, they hear the buzzwords, they hear that, but they don't necessarily always know what that means. So going through step by step with that has really gotten a lot more parents to attend. At our next meeting, which is next Monday, we're actually going to take the ELD curriculum of language power and lay it out to the parents, kind of show them the flow of the lesson, what their students are doing. Just giving examples, some of the LPAC stems. Catherine, last year, she did come right before the LPAC just to show them the stems, the resources they could use, how to change the website like to Spanish so they can actually read the directions, but then kind of have their students just practice at home. So that connection has just been, it's been really imperative in them just being even more invested. And Director always gives homework. Your homework is always to bring another parent or 2 parents. So that really gets more parents to attend our ELAC meetings. And we do have a partnership with Familias Unidas that also helps with supporting parents and how to support their children at home and what they can do there. Our tier 2 supports that we do have a newcomer instructional assistant. So she provides small groups, intensive support to a smaller group. And that's in addition to their designated ELD time. And one thing I didn't mention, actually, this year, we did start ELD the week of September 3rd, which is earlier than we've started in previous years, to kind of get the momentum going for the school year. And then this is Director and myself, very proud, principal and vice principal at the reclassification ceremony. Think we were missing one or two students because they skedaddled before we could take a picture, but we were very proud to support them and for them to be there. And we're going to have a lot more students in this picture next year. So I'm going to give it back to Director Warren. De nada.
You think your parents are still awake? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, LCAP 3 is around progress for English language arts and math and iReady and also the SBAC or CASP. As David had talked about, we have last year's data from our SIPSA and our site councils have gone through that we met goals in iReady in all grade levels except for 5th grade in both language arts and math. Except for 5th grade in both of those, which is ironic because guess what? On CASP, on the state test, 5th grade was the only grade level that met the goal for growth in reading and math. So there wasn't like a great correlation. I think last year when I met before you, there was a direct correlation. So that was kind of some ahas, like we didn't understand, particularly the 3rd grade data didn't make sense to me because I saw all the amazing growth that they had made through the year demonstrated on, and then they took that test in those 2 days, John's favorite test, I guess, didn't show it. So I guess I should show the data instead of just talk to this one. So there was a dip in our ELA, which just goes to show that we need to continue the work that we're doing and be really mindful, continue with the high expectations and the fidelity to the work. From 48 to 42 is a dip. Continue to see the achievement gap. This was fleshed out pretty, I would almost say not shockingly, but in depth. Over the summer, we had a group that met that was led with Michelle Griffith, our community school team. And then we've looked at it as a staff as well. What can we do to improve this achievement gap? Because it's pretty striking when you look at it. Although we think we're moving in the right direction, you know, it's across the state like this, but it's at our school. So it's like in our faces. So it's hard to look at it. This slide, however, is a little bit easier to look at because this is one of the highlights, right? So this is the cohort data. This is what you want to see. You want to see the students starting in 3rd grade at well, 30% not very good, right? And then leaving and they're on to Kennedy in 6th grade now at 51.3%. So that's what you want to see, the trajectory like that. You can only take them from where they are, and then you want to see value added growth. Again, here's the iReady data for the last 3 years, the fall diagnostic only. I've already gone through with our site council and staff that we met our goals, you know, through the beginning of last, whatever, 23, 24 to the end of last year. We have this one dipstick at the beginning of the year, and then we'll have another one in March. Slight improvement here, though, a little bit. And here's the math performance. We did meet our goal and improvement here. So this is kind of nice to see overall. But again, the same achievement gap is it's pronounced for everyone, right? And then cohort is not as strong as the ELA with the dip in 4th grade, but slight improvement. And then here's the dipstick for iReady for the last 3 years, fall in math, again, slight improvement. So here again, tier 3, what we're, excuse me, the tier 1 and tier 2, what we've been doing, kind of the significant things that we've been doing, and some of the initiatives that are new this year I wanted to highlight. We continue for the last 2 years with this MTSS, Universal Design for Learning, good tier 1 instruction. What is it in the classroom, right? And that cohesion model, that's what we're trying to do district-wide in our school too. This is an area, I think Trustee Lee was asking about like, what is the big thing you think that's making the difference or will make the difference? I think across curriculum, in California public schools especially, is this differentiation piece. How can a teacher, veteran or new, really differentiate in a classroom setting with students that are all different levels and needs? And how can I pull a small group, a targeted group? I've looked at my data, this group needs this. And then the rest of my 25 kids, what are they doing? You know, we have to build the routines that they're accountable, give them something meaningful to do. Some can work independently on this, some are working in a group there, they're doing different things while I'm pulling this small group real quick to accelerate that learning a little bit. What Trustee Weekly was talking about, we want to accelerate, give them a little bit more extra so they make a 1.5 year growth. That kind of a thing is really hard to do, really hard to do. And I feel like we're just starting this year. I've had the first trimester roughly every week. Michelle Griffith and Catherine Rivera were out. Now I have it's John and Wendy are visiting to try to get some feedback, and we kind of see some of that growth. We had started it right before the pandemic started, and then we lost it because we went to whole group instruction. I was scared to bring the students into a small group. So I feel like that's starting to change, but it's not hard. I mean, it's not easy, excuse me. It's very hard to teach this way. It's easier to teach a whole group. We are a 90-10 two-way immersion school. That's why I put that hyperlink there. That's what unites us. That's what we believe in. There's data and research supporting the program from just recently from Stanford. So those integrated units, the focus on vocabulary, the anchor charts in all the classrooms, you can see them, they're up. Teachers are doing it. We're going to keep doing it. Some of the new work the last 2 years is the phonics work. I would argue we were doing phonics because Spanish is phonetic for years. We just weren't using Aprendo a Leer, but now we're using Aprendo a Leer. New this year is the Haggerty English phonics work because we're this 90-10 model, right? So in second grade, we didn't typically teach any English reading. There's ELD going on, right? We're still doing Spanish reading in the model because of the need and what's shown by the science of reading for teaching specifically English phonics. Once the second grade class has shown that at least 80% of them showed their phonics in Aprendo a Leer and their Spanish literacy, we've shifted into they have a 20-minute English phonics block. So I think that will make a difference as they're prepared to move into Maria's class in third grade. She might not have to do as much Haggerty work next year because they've started earlier. They're gonna be farther along. So that's one of the newer things this year. We're in our second year of illustrative math implementation. I think it's better this year. Teachers are more comfortable with how the program works. I think there's still some issues with it, honestly. I talked to you a little bit last year about how different it is, especially for our veteran teachers and someone might like me, because I want to be modeling and teaching it and giving examples instead of inviting you to figure out the problem on your own and then talking to your partner. And then and then I'm just walking around asking questions. And then you're going to go into your games or your activities. And then I'm going to do a cool down and I'm going to try to synthesize the learning. You know, that's kind of the new model. Those practices. We've had, I think, two sessions this year. I haven't been in both of them. From illustrative math have been helpful. And then new this year, but wasn't really new because we had done them pre-pandemic, as Anna knows, is professional learning communities, collaborative work in grade level teams using Dufour's book, Cycle of Inquiry. So teachers are setting SMART goals. Next Thursday, we'll go over our second cycle. Our growth, whether they made their SMART goals for the second cycle. Take a look at the FIAB results that we just looked at this past Monday. It feels like a long time ago, but Monday was just this week. To start their next cycle for cycle 3, setting up their SMART goals. And this is work that we used to do, but it's important work, and we're really lucky to have a collaborative staff. The teachers like to work together, which is a good thing. I think we need to do more that we're observing each other. We had one cycle this year that they were able to observe each other in the classroom. We do more of that. I think would be better in these next cycles. So there's a lot more in that tier one, but that's some of the highlights. In tier two, this is more around intervention and support. We have instructional assistants supporting push-in small groups for kindergarten and first grade. Reading support in small groups pull out for first and second grade in Spanish. And then reading support with very strong reading intervention specialists in third, fourth, and fifth grade. We do have another budget cut that we've adjusted to this year because we don't have as many reading intervention teachers in English this year. We're 0.5 less. So that is a change this year. There is some tutoring also going on in an extended day program or after school programs. And then obviously all students in the district should be getting via their IEPs and their goals, reading or math support or study skills supports as per their goals with their RSP teacher and instructional assistant. So here's some of the funner pictures. I wanted to highlight that teachers are working collaboratively, students are working in small groups. I see teacher Narde here's teaching a phonics lesson with Aprendo a Leer with a small group. So what are the rest of her 20, because her class is at 27 kindergartners, I believe. So she got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She got 5. So what are the other 22 doing? What are they doing? Right. So that's part of the piece. Teachers working collaboratively. This is in the lower or the far right there, they're doing a measurement activity for illustrative math. And then goal setting, there's a goal setting there at the beginning with Maestra Susie. So yeah, get a little bit of feel. But honestly, the best feel is to come out. The cabinet's been coming out every week. So cabinet members, that's a new thing this year. So board members are welcome anytime to come out and get a feel for the school. I think that's my report.
All right. Thank you, Warren and Patty, for presenting, and Jose and Maria for being here. Let's jump right into discussion and questions. Yeah, let's go the same order. Yeah, right away.
First and foremost, thank you guys again for not only putting this presentation together, but also for obviously doing the work. Lots of stuff to celebrate. So I appreciate the pictures, first of all, to see that, and I will definitely make my way out there as well to see in person. I will try not to delay anyone's bedtime any further, so I'll try to be quick to the questions.
That's okay.
The first one is just because I can't help myself with numbers and data. Very small nuance. I was just curious. I saw on the chronic absenteeism rates with the breakdown for students with disabilities, it looked like there was a spike this year. I was just curious, do you know, is that anything? Is it just an anomaly, or is there some specific thing going on?
Well,
there?
there's a couple of things. There are individual cases, right? I'm not going to get into their specifics. We also have a few students that haven't returned independent studies. They have to return in their work. We're not just going to approve the independent studies. There are a number of those students. And we have a couple of situations with a couple of students in that group. I know it doesn't answer your question.
No, I think I think, or correct me if I'm right. It sounds like it is more. It happens to be an individual student kind of basis. It's not like this is something we need to really. There's a big issue to resolve there. Other question, just to echo my last question before. Very helpful to hear kind of the areas where like it's super helpful to get the supports and or what strategies work. On the flip side, is there, maybe to echo Trustee Weekly's question, is there anything that you have flagged that the district could do to support the school in particular?
Yeah, I think I've been shy in telling John and Anna and Liz previously that we really miss having an instructional coach embedded at the school, at least part-time, half day. I feel like when we were demonstration site with SEAL, that was really the best in terms of keeping us on point, and really trying different strategies that are coming on, and teachers modeling and more collaboration. I think that was really that's something that I really miss and the teachers really miss, and I think it's really important for the work, but it's a cost factor.
Still,
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thanks again for the presentation, for obviously you guys again and all teachers and staff. One of the things I want to say, obviously, Adelante has a special place in my heart. All my kids went there. And one of the things I wanted to mention regarding Maestra Maria was, just want to throw it out there. Your mom was my,
Victoria.
yes,
Yeah.
back 30 something years ago. At McKinley. So I will never forget that. And so I just want you to let her know. And I don't want to, I mean, it's still kind of part of the presentation of why I'm saying this is because I do think that building relationships with the students are very important. Because again, to this day, like I remember her dearly. I still have, we used to be the McKinley Trojans, and I still have my little paper where like, I don't know why I got it for, I don't know, being good. So like, those are the relationships that we build. And I do know that firsthand because my kids went there, how, you know, Adelante, just like any other school, is a really tight community.
Yeah.
I
Feels
did
like
feel we were
feels like family, right?
super,
Yeah.
yes, like super, super tight. So I do appreciate that. And then moving along with what you guys are doing, I appreciate, of course, everything that's happening for the after school programs that are actually helping out all the students that really need the after school, not necessarily just the academic, but the enrichment, the I don't even know what to say. So in other
They
words,
socialize, there's some downtime. It's good. Yeah.
Yes. And so I appreciate you guys doing this partnership with not just like one, but you know, 5, 4
Yeah.
partners. So I appreciate that. I really liked, like you said, with the Ruby Bridges and your, I guess if you want to make it I can't even think, maybe because it is late. A tradition.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I appreciate that. Just engaging the students and the families to be part of, again, a community that can set up for success. And again, we don't see the scores we really want to see. And I believe that no matter how much we tried, and this is like nationwide, the achievement gap is always going to be there. I mean, there's so much out there, you know, whether it's the traumas of the students, whether it's the way we were brought up and the way we socialize, the way we learn, and the stuff that we didn't learn. I think we are all moving forward to try to close the achievement gap. And to me, that matters a lot because again, progress, you know, matters. We're probably not going to see what we really want to see. I mean, I would love for everyone to be successful. But what I do admire about this district is that everybody wears so many hats and we believe in the students. So I appreciate that. And again, when we talk about numbers, maybe not something that we want to see, but then one interesting, when David was comparing the iReady scores and he focused on the 23-24, your guys's in 24-25 was actually higher.
Yeah,
than-
slightly.
Yeah, so I know that's one of the things that you mentioned. So again, the progress is there. And I've said it before for other presentations, and like the needle is moving. And I think we do have to, you know, hats off to all the teachers and the support staff for being there for our students. So I really appreciate that. And I will pass it along to my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really great to hear. Just thank you for the presentation. The work with, in particular, Familias Unidas and engaging parents there. It's really wonderful to engage the community and help the parents help the kids so that we can continue the education outside the classroom. In terms of LCAP goal 2, would you say that we are on track to hit our reclassification goals? It was a little hard to tell from the data in the presentation.
didn't meet our goal on reclassification last year. It was significantly lower. I talked a little bit with Dr. Baker about that. There was a change in how you can reclassify students in terms of they have to have a solid 4 now before students with an IEP that had I don't know if you want how detailed you want to be, that you could reclassify it with a couple of different metrics. If they had a 3, you could reclassify them. You couldn't do that starting last year. That was one of the issues. Additionally, our 5th graders showed the most growth on test scores last year.
Right.
And then when they reclassify as 6th graders. That was a little bit of a dip, but not wholly the answer.
Okay, thank you.
But do I think we're on track to meet the goal this year? Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic news. You mentioned this interesting frustration that CASP and iReady felt like they were maybe not agreeing.
Yeah, they didn't correlate. Particularly 3rd grade was like the one that was like really upsetting to me because I know how hard that team worked and the students,
Yeah.
and we celebrated their progress throughout the year. And then the 2 days of that CASP ELA test in particular, they didn't show it.
So which test do you believe? Maybe neither of them. In terms of like, what's your guide star for progress?
I don't know. I said this to John yesterday, like there's so many different things that go into a test score on those 2 days when they show up. It's like hard to say, and I'm a principal. I've been in it for 35 years in education. My kids have been in school. So it's really hard to say. I don't have a good answer for you. Last year when I came before you, I thought we had the hack, right? We hit all of our goals. The iReady correlated exactly with the CAPS.
Yeah.
I was following the data all along. And this last year, that at least that 1 grade level didn't make what I thought it was going to make.
Interesting. Thanks. Same feedback as for the last presentations. It'd be good to see some of the deltas in terms of the rate at which students are advancing versus just the static snapshots. I think that'd be very helpful for all the schools. Similarly, this is probably going to be feedback for all the schools. Per Trustee Lee's question, anytime we see a percentage, it'd be really nice to see the N that goes with that. Because if it's a small N, you're by definition, law of small numbers, going to see violent fluctuations that may not actually be representing underlying trends.
Right.
Whereas for a large N, big movements, you really want to pay attention because something really big did happen there. So just a request there. Cool. Thank you so much for your presentation.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I think that we heard last year when we were looking at the iReady data, just even across the district, how it didn't correlate with the CASP scores. And so it's not surprising here. I'm a big supporter of us having dropped down to just 2 tests because I know that in the spring, at least, we were doing LPAC, CASP, iReady, like back to back to back. It just sounded like the kids were never actually getting instructed. They were always getting tested. And as much as we're up here saying we want to see this data, like there's got to be a different way to do this, right? And 2 days to say that this culminates 180 days worth of learning seems like a real folly. And yet, here we are. We have to look at it, right? This is an important thing. We need something to be able to measure it. So,
right.
So I get it. It's frustrating. But on the bright side, love the focus on relationship building that you're doing there, and I think that's really an important part of school, especially for our K through 5s, our TK through 5s,
Right.
to make sure that they're really building a relationship and a love of school, and hearing that focus that you're talking about at the beginning is important. I want to make a meta comment about your slides. I really like the actions separated into tier 1 and tier 2, tier 3. I thought that was really helpful to understand where they come into the into the daily cycle, the weekly cycle for the students and how you're using it. So I wanted to appreciate that. Cecilia already mentioned about the integrated ELO that you're working with. It's happening across the district, but you highlighted it there. One thing that you added, and I thought it was really helpful, and I hope everybody was paying attention to it, just the impact that the end of these one-time funds is having, like the positions lost, and where the impact you're seeing in them now and where you're going to have to adjust to them in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate that this is a situation. We got that taste of what it feels like to actually see real programs funded, even beyond just in the immediate classroom. And it hurts to see that impact. I'm sure it hurts there too. I love your optimism of we're going to figure it out what we're going to do there, but highlighting that and showing that is really helpful. It just keeps it really real. And the last thing I wanted to say was one of the questions I had asked was just it was how families, like the parents, the guardians, the supporting adults of our emerging bilingual student learners, how they were getting engaged to really support their students, their language development at home and just understanding the whole process there. Because I was a little worried when I just read the slide. I was like, the ELAC meeting, is it really well attended? Like, is it sort of like, site councils are
We have
important,
one
but they're not.
on Monday. Yeah.
It sounds great. And like, I remember the first time I saw it, like a principal's coffee, the explanation of how the LPAC works and just, it was enlightening to me, but I could also see how it was just so enlightening to the parents that were there, learning about the different domains, how the test works, what the scores mean, and how the students are preparing for it, what they're working on at home. And that's just for the LPAC. I mean, you're talking about even just supporting the students throughout the day, throughout the year. So that was really, really heartening to see. I have I really appreciate that outreach and the parent outreach there.
Well, I think we had a presentation last night from Familias Unidas and Secundino and Ninfazuno and with our PTO. And our PTO Unidos has this great equity. They have a really strong equity lens. I think we really want to increase our involvement and work with them and have at least 3 sessions a year for our families. And they do really great work helping families kind of navigate the system and support their students at home. And I also additionally wanted to say our Unidos group I think they're the only PTO that actually has a line item budget that they're donating a percentage of their funds to the RCEF. Because they feel very strongly that we should be contributing to everyone in the district. So I wanted to thank Unidos for that.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Thanks. And I will say Secundino and Zimfa send us videos of some of the classes like periodically. And when I saw him at I can't remember where it was like, I love the videos. He's like, oh, that's great. I'm going to keep sending
them. He's very enthusiastic.
Yeah. All right.
P.S. I love the hyperlinks in the deck.
Okay,
really
good,
nice to be able to put it.
I know she gives me like 6 slides and she says I have 20 minutes to do a presentation. I'm like,
20 minutes.
So, okay, I'm like, put all these hyperlinks. Yeah.
So Warren, one thing I wanted to comment on is, the teachers are doing a great job with a small group because I was right before winter break in the classrooms. They all had group work going, and their kids were working either in their own small groups or individually, and then they had their own group. The teacher had their own group that was doing some intensive work with the kids.
Yeah, and the classroom wasn't on fire, and there wasn't an earthquake.
It was great. It was really great, and even TK was doing it, walking into those TK classrooms, and there are 4 of them at that site, and so it's really interesting to see these little guys.
There's 4 kinders and 2 TKs.
2 TKs. But I'm talking the 4K.
Yeah.
4Ks now.
Yeah.
Because walking into those 4Ks, each of those Ks were doing small group instruction. It was busy. It wasn't silent. And that's what it should be. But the teacher had their 4 or 5 kids with them working in something specific that needed some extra support.
And those are the largest kinder classes we've had in a long time too.
You keep reminding me. Thank you. There are 27 in each classroom.
Yeah.
But the teachers are doing fantastic.
Yeah, we have great staff. They're fortunate.
Yeah, you're really lucky. And the other thing, just to mention, you've been as a principal more than 5 years.
No, for Adelante Selby. Yeah.
It's more than 5 years at Adelante Selby because remember.
Don't start.
No. What we went through together when I closed schools. Do you remember?
Did you do that? Yes, I remember. Yes, we all.
How can I
My left
forget?
eye's gonna start twitching. Stop.
Don't you remember our first night of bringing those 2 communities together?
Yes.
Yeah, it was more than 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I said, Warren, no.
You're making me older than I am.
No, but a lot has happened.
Yeah.
We didn't know it was going to go as well as it has now because that group both groups were very stuck in their ways, but to bring them together and where they are now, that's to your leadership and to the staff at the school site because the staff also came together and it was not easy when we met with both the staffs either. But
yeah, ironically, I think COVID brought us more together.
You think so?
Believe it or not, yeah. As a staff.
as a staff.
Mhm.
But I mean, the community
Mhm.
really coalesced
Mhm.
and was really, because it was really hard. It was those first couple of meetings, and there were hours, and oh my God, are we going to be able to make it through this? And we did. And thanks to your leadership, it has really helped. And the teachers being so amenable with one another too, and working things out. It's come to a place where I did not expect that, and it is a fantastic environment where they care about one another. Parents care about one another. You go to the Unidos meeting or you go to the cafecitos, it's really different. It's real different than what you would see at some of our other school sites. Not to say that they're not great also, but to see this community that came together, these two groups that came together and where they are right now. Because I can say it was not, I don't think they liked each other to begin with, to be perfectly honest, but here we
I
are.
think we did better than some of the other merged schools, as I've heard through the grapevine, but
But we had our times, but it worked out really well. It worked out really well. It's a fantastic community. I was talking to a PK parent today, and she has 3 children in our school, and the TK is the last one. And I said, well, where's the TK going? And because this parent was at work, we were talking about another item that she wanted to discuss, and she goes, Adelante, because she has one kid right now in Sunnyvale where she works, but she's bringing the kid back to Redwood City, an older child. And she was, I just love that school. The principal, the vice principal, the community school coordinator, they're out there when we get there in the morning, they're greeting everybody. Director, whose jacket is this? Don't forget to pick up that's lost and found, and and you're out there.
yeah, the things they don't teach you in administrative school.
She says, I just love it, the community and how one reacts with one another. And it's just fantastic. I said, well, thank you. I will just, he's presenting tonight. So if you want to tune in, go ahead.
Just sleep, I'm sure.
She was giving you a wonderful compliment.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Warren.
All right. Thank you, guys. That's it.
All right. All right. Good night, all. Go. Have successful days tomorrow at school. Thank you so much. Yeah. We have just a minuscule amount of agenda left. I recommend that we just power through instead of taking a normal 9 o'clock break. Okay, great. So we already have 9.1 pulled. So we're going to move on to our consent items. Number 10, do I have a motion to
I move
consent
the
agenda?
consent agenda.
Yeah, second.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Perfect. Consent agenda. We have no action. We have no action items. So we're on to report for the board and superintendent reports. I'm happy to start. Our last meeting was like days before the holiday. I have nothing to report since then.
Me neither. I just wanted to double.
Japan and Taiwan were great.
Nothing else to report.
Okay. Anything to report? No. Okay. That was an easy one too. Moving on to information. This is the investment fund. If I look at the agenda, it's like 3.7% return. Any questions? Anything to discuss on the investment fund? Monthly report back on that. Perfect. Correspondence. We did get all the deck that was presented today, plus all of those letters. I'm sure if you haven't seen your email, it came later this afternoon. That's there. I think we can knock that off. Anything else from correspondence that people have?
Got a letter complaining about the 2025-2026 school year calendar. I think everyone got that one. Yep.
And then for me, which I don't know, because I don't know whether we're being like BCC'd or not. Some staff member emailed regarding the summer program.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I got that too.
All right, cool. So other business suggested items for future agendas?
There was certainly a lot of voice for asking the board to give support for the Mandarin immersion program. I don't know if we want to agendize that for a future meeting.
Do we we normally have something around future enrollment?
We
I don't
will.
know where that fits in.
The enrollment closes the 17th, which is a week from Friday. So I would imagine that we could do something, one of the meetings in February.
And can you talk about when, I know that one of the outcomes from the Orion Growth Plan Committee was to have something presented to the board? Is that one of the goals, or is that not to have a presentation to the board?
That is to be, there will be a presentation to the board, but this is one of the items that was brought up tonight, has been something we've been discussing.
Okay.
But I want to look at numbers because I was texting Jorge back and forth.
Right.
When some information came forward and it doesn't match.
Okay.
So, but I need to look at that before
Makes sense.
I make a recommendation, but also we can do that in one of those first board meetings in February, because I will have the numbers of those kindergarten parents, those TK parents coming in, and then talk about enrollment for kindergarten for next year. Because as I have mentioned to a couple of you, we can go to 28.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's a challenging topic because I know that what comes in now is not necessarily what is realized in August. But yeah,
that is true.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that work?
Possibly. I mean, some of what we heard was explicitly asking for us to agendize it next week. So I'm just trying to figure out how to balance, waiting for the growth committee to wrap up, having all of the firm application data versus like being responsive to the community feedback.
And I would like to also meet with Winnie,
of course.
And sit down with Anna and Rick to really look at this, and then to meet with and Wendy, because then I mean staffing too.
Right.
And what does that mean, and how viable is it, moving forward with additional staff? And if we do that in some manner, what does that mean for other sites?
Right.
So that's a discussion to have. As I have mentioned in individual emails to some of you, it all depends on the numbers and how the numbers play out, plus using contract language of how high we can go at these grade levels. And then also what I am looking at as we come to talk about enrollment is keeping with contract numbers and then combination classrooms, which I know is not a popular item, but we're going to have to start going in that direction, especially with our budget. So that's a conversation to have, and I can get that probably all together in February, but to come back at the next board meeting and have something for you is really tight.
Yeah.
Maybe I can meet with Winnie and a couple of parents from that group, along with, I need to make sure that I have someone from the committee, because I don't want to leave them out.
Yep.
Because they'll feel.
Yeah, totally.
So let me see if I can do that and talk to them of the reasoning why I'm going in that direction. I would like to wait and then come back with a recommendation.
Yeah. And fingers crossed that the ability to flex up to 28 lets us actually seat everyone who wants to be part of the program. That would be wonderful.
Right.
Anything else? Okay, great. Then we're at the calendar. Any changes to the calendar?
No changes, just a reminder, the location was finalized yesterday afternoon. It's at the Fair Oaks Community Center. Right. And I did send out an email with the address and the room number.
Great. Forget your menus.
Yeah.
As a heads up, my boss's boss has summoned her entire org, including me, to DC for the first week of February, which includes a board meeting that first week of February.
Then we cannot do it that first week in February. Probably.
Or I'll just have to find a way to tune in from the East Coast. But anyhow, just data point.
Okay. All right, Ken, that's good to share. I think that's it. We're at adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.